Hello, hello. Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Monica Shepard, and I'm joined by Dax Shepard.
Oh.
Which one is which?
Good question.
Do you want to hold on to your first name or your last name?
Oh, I'd like to get rid of my last name.
Okay, so you're Monica Shepard, and I'm Dax Shepard. I like that, Dax Shepard.
You like it?
I do. It sounds very strong, yeah.
Okay.
Dax Shepard for mayor.
I think you like the man is in there.
Yeah, like Dax Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dax Man Randy Savage. Today, my wife's on the show.
That's right.
Yeah.
But not the original Belle.
Not the real wife, the television wife.
Yep.
Lake Bell. I should say, for parody, I'm Lake Bell's husband.
Oh.
Does that feel more?
I like that, yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm Lake Bell's husband. On the show Bless This Mess, but you know her from many different projects. She's an actress, a director, a screenwriter. She made the movie In a World, I Do Until I Don't. She was in No Strings Attached. It's complicated. Anyways, I adore her. We have a lot of fun working together, and we had an amazing time chatting together. And I hope you'll enjoy Lake Bell.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Listen, I'm feeling a lot of your energy, and
A lot of our musks.
A lot of our heavy breathing.
What do you call female musk? Or is it all musk? Any kind of...
Perfume.
Well,
Yeah.
That's what you call it.
I mean more like he had a musk to him. You know, like a musk ox.
Stink?
Yeah, like a strong pheromone.
Not feminist.
Yeah, no.
She had a stink. You know what I mean? Like the guy had the musk, and you know what she had? She had a stink.
Oh, yeah, that could be hot.
Yeah.
In the right context, if you said it, well, we've had many conversations like this. I think both of our sensibility leans towards the perverse in some ways.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
So I have to imagine there has been a moment in your life where you were like, let's say on a crowded dance floor, and you said to one of your friends, like, that motherfucker's got musk, like, but it was a positive or some version of that.
I don't know if I said that sentence.
Of course, no one probably ever has in real life.
And to be honest with you, if I'm fair, I don't know that I would be somebody who's like, I fucking love it when he smells like stank.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. My perverse brain is more in situational, like I want to like talk about situations.
Sure.
Where I'm like, tell me more. When it gets more sort of in the room, if you will, then I'm like,
more 3D.
yeah, when it's more,
Sure.
when it's 4D.
Yeah.
3D, yes, but also 4D, which is sensory in the
Yeah, olfactory.
olfactory.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
This is a pheromone issue.
it is a pheromone issue, and again, can go good or bad.
It can be fair.
Yeah.
It can be unfair amounts.
But just so people are clear on what perversion we're talking about, similarly, I had a very similar relationship with Joy, which you have some overlap. We also played wives, also went to Westminster.
Crazy.
It's a lot of craziness. And so your and I's so Joy and I's was a particular sound man. We had a sound guy who was very large and handsome and had a lot of mojo. He had let us in on this fact that he plays piano on the beach when he goes on vacation and he wears a Speedo.
Picture that.
So for 6 years, we were off to the races about what this guy's doing when he gets home. What are all of his moves? And then you and I similarly...
Seth.
Seth were just, and
Seth,
Monica
yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah,
He's a
you
character on this podcast.
gorgeous.
basically.
Oh, really?
Well, we've talked about him a
Oh,
few times.
good. I'm glad he's living on.
And he gave Monica a double handshake.
He's my favorite.
Like, oh, you mean so he clasped you just so it was like a hand hug
Yeah.
on you firmly.
And then deep in to the pupils.
But you know what? He is one of those people who like is unafraid of holding your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Scary. And nice.
So yeah.
Mixed messages.
You like that, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
You
Who
like
doesn't?
Yeah, right. Just like push and pull.
Now, Seth he's in his own category.
Sure.
I'm talking more about, and I'm not going to name any names because we don't want to make anyone self-conscious on
Thank
the
you.
set. Yes. More, we've isolated other members and then just took a gander at what their private life is like. We like to just kind of detail, where would this gentleman take a lady to dinner? What would the moves be? What would he order? What is his, what's he putting out there on this date? What comes after the date?
Does he wear cologne or not? Which I think is a really big thing. And we talked about musk earlier.
Yes.
Do they need to put on an artificial musk to entice? That's a very specific person. Also, my husband and I talk about this a lot. Are you a half an arm backpacker or are you a double arm backpacker?
Interesting.
Do you think that's a big litmus test for people's character?
Kind of.
Sure.
In broad strokes terms, like out of the gate, you're like
Thin
okay.
slicing, blank.
Yeah. You get blank. He does this thing called Whole Glory, which is like really interesting. It's a little play on Glory Hole, but basically it's Whole Glory is this sort of art installation that is this large wall that's like an art piece and there's a hole in the middle of it and a black chair. And he does a raffle for people and people like line up for this thing in all countries, all cities, everywhere. And he is sitting behind the wall and whoever wins the raffle sits in the chair and puts their arm through the hole.
Oh boy.
And you don't know if you're going to be there for 5 minutes or you're going to be there for 5 hours.
Oh,
but
wow.
you will get tattooed by Scott and he will wrap it in black fabric and then you pull it back out and everyone gathers round and then unveils and then they see what they have forever.
Wow.
Yes, and
That
some
is
people who
so
put their arm through the hole, sometimes they have a myriad of tattoos and sometimes they have none.
Yeah.
So you know, it's almost like palm reading in a weird way because he's very intuitive, Scott. And you put that arm through, and there's like stories on the hand and the arm. Like, okay, well, first of all, the first thing would be, do they have other tattoos? Right?
You're right.
Do you see like a peak of one up at the top of the arm, or do you kind of get a sense of what age, maybe what gender, maybe not? But all of these cues. Do they wear a watch? Do they not? Is there a wedding band? It's like all of
Little
these
clues.
Whoa,
Yes.
that is awesome.
Yeah, so let's back up. Your husband, Scott Campbell, is a very accomplished tattoo artist.
Yeah.
And then an artist at large in many, many ways. Bunch of interesting stuff he does.
Yes. He is very unique. He's born and raised in Louisiana and Texas. So he's like a Southern boy, you know? And he's very capable. He's sort of like left home very early.
On the surface, you guys are opposites. Just
Yes.
on the surface.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
First jerseys. I'm from
'Cause-
Manhattan.
Right.
I was a debutante.
Different socioeconomic background.
Indeed. My dad was wealthy man,
A Jewish man.
a Jewish man. My mom was very waspy. Scott, grew up in the bayou of Louisiana. And that sounds like such like a falsehood, but actually he quite literally, it was like the swamps of Louisiana.
Let's just say, had there been a Leonard Skinner album that
Sure.
he was just on the cover of in the 70s,
Right.
you'd go perfect fit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The only blind date of my life
What?
was with your husband.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes, you and my wife fixed us up on a blind date. Do you know this, Monica?
No, tell.
Double bell, double blind date.
Yeah, so I think Kristen said, hey, I was talking to Lake and you and Scott are going to hang out. You're going to bring Nova and Delta back to the house and you guys are going to go swimming.
I think I remember this actually.
And
I think I was maybe floating around at that time.
I was like, all right, let's do this.
There was enough cues on the table. It was also because like Nova and Delta, they're just like, they're both sparkly magic people,
They are not opposites attract. They are the same.
Yeah, they're like
bonkers.
We're wacky, we're bonkers, we're like, and just for the backstory of that, for the people, they went to preschool together and they don't anymore. Nova goes to a different school, but that's where you and I first
came
kind
to
of-
chat.
Yeah.
Let me just say, the date went spectacular. We ended up extending it. We ordered Shake Shack. We had to have that conversation that parents in LA, like, what do your kids eat?
Your kids eat. I'm sorry. Can I just ask, do your kids eat gluten?
What are we doing? We doing paleo for
Is
these
it okay they're
kids?
fried? Are you a French fry family?
Yeah, but we were like, fucking Shake Shack, bring it on. Protein, carbs, let's get these kids ripped and bulky. It was really bonding and we had a great, great time. Okay, this art installation.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. And you know how when they audition with symphony musicians, they put a sheet in front of them, right? So that the people that they're auditioning in front of can't make any assertions
I did
based
not
on
know
their...
that.
So there's no bias going on. You're just hearing the music. Scott is similarly doing that because there could be a granny on the other end
Sure.
of that muscular forearm.
Yeah, very built granny. No, I think that's what's interesting about it. Traditionally tattooing is very intimate. You sit with this person that either you know very well or you don't. And either way, it's complicated.
Yeah.
So you have to sit down and are you going to converse with them the whole time? He has like therapy sessions with people.
Yes.
It's like people come to get a tattoo for this very extraordinary reason of they want to mark their body for the rest of their life. And so in that's emotional, that's personal. You're then consulting with this person. You're representing my children or...
Well, the level of trust you're extending this stranger can only be surpassed by like a surgeon.
Yeah. I mean, and it is very precise. It is surgeon-like.
And I'd almost rather have a botched heart valve than something visual.
bad tattoo.
Yeah, just because I'm
Yeah,
vain, I could just walk slower with my bad valve.
Sure, with like a mitral valve prolapse or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think about it, and it's like people who have lost a loved one come to Scott. If they're in recovery on something, they need a stamp to remind them of their resolve or their commitment to something. It's a profound thing.
Yeah.
You don't just like, oh, at 4 I'm tattooing someone. I'm like, I know what that is. That's
Yes.
like the whole thing.
Do you have tattoos? You do, right?
I do. I didn't have them forever, and I liked being like, I am a blank canvas, and he's all covered, and like that was like a fun,
Yin and
sexy
yang.
thing. Yeah, we're like so different. I think I was kind of like, I've made it this far without having a tattoo. Like, what am I going to like get a tattoo in my 30s? And then I had Nova. And I remember I was so tired when we were just like, couldn't believe what parenthood was.
Yeah.
And there was like on a random Tuesday night, he gave me this little heart that he has on his hand too. It was more just born from a conversation. Like, I'm curious, like, what does it feel like? The bzz, like, what is that?
Yeah.
And he was like, you want me to show you? And I was like, okay, I'm tired. Just do it because it's going to cry again. And it being my kid.
But if you wanted to feel it, I might have gone with your heel or something. Just
So he's very like,
all in.
yes.
Captain All In. Tell him about the tattoo he gave
tattoo.
himself.
Yes. His whole thing is people think like, oh, it's so fucking cool to be a Lothario and, like fucking date and fuck a lot of women. Okay. His thing was like, it is so much more bold to just be like, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you so hard. I'm all in.
Okay.
And he would take that chance. Like, are you meeting me there?
Right.
And that's terrifying. That's
Yeah.
like really jumping out of the plane, like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I met him, we both had, obviously, there's that chemical thing. And he was like, I'm all in. Are you? And I was like, yes, because I was like intoxicated with just all of it. And it was just right. But then 9 days in,
Oh, boy.
he came to visit me. We were living in different towns. And yes, he's covered. And yes, he describes himself as the bathroom walls at CBGB in terms of the visual, because it's just from neck to toe tattoos. However, he arrived and I will say, we had sex.
He made love.
We made love,
sharing that.
yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
Intercourse. And when
Sexual intercourse through
intercourse through sexuality. So when we were post-coitus, we're obviously naked.
Oh, you guys make love naked.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
It's just
Okay.
different than a lot of people.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's almost like wearing clothes when he's naked, even because he's got so many
right.
tattoos that it is kind of like a sheath of something. Anyway, so we're there, and I knew he had gotten a tattoo because I called him at some point. He was like still on the table. I was like, God, you're really getting tattooed for a long time. I can't wait. And I was like, oh, what'd you get? And he turns, and on the side of his whole body, from like rib,
Latissimus to hip bone.
exactly, latissimus to kind of like mid thigh.
Oh, Jennifer, that deep.
Yeah, is the word lake with a huge rose in Old English. And I was like,
Wow.
I just looked at him and I was like, it was 9 days in, you guys.
9
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and I literally had no words. And then I looked at his face and he was like, oh yeah, I forgot to show you.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
Oh, God bless you.
yeah.
First of all, you made the right choice. He's a wonderful human being.
Oh, thanks.
But also,
Nailed it.
good for you, because I would have been absolutely terrified.
Right.
I would have been so terrified.
I mean, if he was no tattoos,
Right.
Okay.
do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because his whole thing is, he's like, look, I got it. I think, one of the girls at the tattoo shop who works there, Michelle Tarantelli, she was like, oh shit. She was like, does she know you did that? And he's like, no, I didn't tell her. And she's like, oh shit, you're stupid. She was just like, you fucking stupid. It obviously went over well. I was like, wow. And he just stopped me and he was like, look, don't worry. I'd already thought about it. If it doesn't work out, I'll just put like an R and an S, and I'll get into Kobe. I'll add a little purple,
Lakers.
yeah. It's like it's a noun. So in a way, you know what I mean. You're good.
But really quick, were you a commitment phobe?
I just never understood relationships. I didn't have a great respect for marriage or the concept of deep and meaningful commitment because I came from a family where. And my dad has corrected me since then because I used to say I come from a myriad of divorces, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my dad said, well, wait a second. I had one divorce with your mom, and then I've stayed with the same woman for, over 30 years or whatever it is. That is great. That's successful.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, my mom, who has had 2 divorces, there's just a lot of divorce in general. And I don't fault my mom. I'm actually really impressed with what it looks like to have different chapters in your life. Even the strength for 2 people to be like, hey, you know what? We had a successful marriage. We did 10 plus years and we created children together, had homes together. We forged a beautiful life together. There's something really successful about that.
I agree. A lot of people will they'll have 12 years, they'll relapse, then they'll come get another year, and they're just so crestfallen about having relapse. And I'm like, no. For the last 13 of your life, 12 of the years you were sober, for an addict, that's fucking an enormous accomplishment.
It's huge.
We measure stuff weird as a people.
I think you have to have faith that it's okay to have chapters. You know what I mean? That's actually part of our evolution, I think, as humans. It's our privilege.
Yeah. And that there's a quality versus quantity argument to be made in all situations on all topics, basically.
Sure.
Because I've known people that were married for 40 years, and I wouldn't see 5 days in that marriage as an accomplishment.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out, too. It just as I'm married and didn't have an understanding of what the fuck we were all doing, it felt archaic. I was like, didn't we start marriage when there was land ownership and we had to combine land, and it was just such a antiquated system.
What was an economic model?
Absolutely. And I understand it through that lens, but then also we also died at 40.
Mm-hmm.
So it was for life was not that bad. That's not shit. That's not that big of a deal. It's a fair commitment,
Well, when I was with Bree, we watched a 60 Minutes where this guy was saying they're going to isolate the gene that turns on aging. And I said, I'm going to get that procedure for myself when it becomes available. I don't know if I'll be able to afford it for you, but I promise I will stay with you until you die. But I will then be with many other people.
Sure.
And I thought that was very romantic of me, because I would have been stuck
So
in my.
romantic.
I would have been 30 with a 100-year-old lady.
Well, and there's something
You would have
interesting in
liked
that.
that.
Yeah.
I probably would have found my way into that.
Oh yeah, you would. Yeah, you were like, this works for me in some sort of sordid way,
Helping her out of her wheelchair and stuff.
or just keep the wheelchair. Yeah, just go with the wheelchair.
What then shifted for you in your brain that made you think okay, I will get married?
Well, I think someone like me who's I don't know if I'm getting on board of this fucking shit. I think you have to meet someone who's oh, this is bravery. You're thinking it's cooler to be oh, fucking bail when the going gets rough. And he's sort of no, if you feel it, you feel it. And by the way, you also need to be deeply, you feel something different, right? That gets your attention to get you on board with a concept of committing. And now I think that where I'm on board with it is that when we're in a relationship and we kind of bail out of the relationship when shit gets rough, or if the person calls you out on stuff, that in a way is not evolving. You cannot continue to really grow. This is just my personal opinion. Everyone can be like, that's not true. But I feel in a marriage is where you have to look at your shit in the mirror and have to deal with it, because this other person is very comfortable with you, sees all of your shit, and will call you out on things that you weren't even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, I think, a human privilege to be able to grow, to evolve, to go to the next level, to take on new chapters. You can do that with one person.
Yeah.
But you have to be comfortable with criticism and altering your...
Well, I feel like you're kind of entering the dynamic of a pilot, co-pilot. The co-pilot's singular job is to be looking for mistakes in the pilot. That's how it's safe in there. And so your partner has a view of the forest that you don't have. You're in the trees and you're dealing with your stuff as it comes up, you know, but it's someone on the outside that's not getting emotional about all these things and can just kind of see the whole pattern. I certainly can see patterns with Belle that she can't see, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't want to say this is a sign of maturity, but definitely when I was younger, I was looking for a partner who fit perfectly in this jigsaw puzzle
Yeah.
and cause the least amount of conflict possible, and that would let me run my show the way I wanted to, and someone that was, worked well with that.
Oh, yeah.
And with Belle, not even intentionally, but maybe somehow a sign of maturity, I was like, oh, no, this person has things I want in character, some approach that I wish I knew how to take. And I want to learn from this person and hopefully get infected by the things I admire about them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we realize when we choose our forever partner, I don't think we realize that I'm going to evolve because of them. But then when kids get involved, it's like that's where the marriage and the relationship is tested in a different way.
It really puts a fire on your feet because when it's just the two of you working it out or compromising, let's just say, for example, when we first met, we were just talking. We were in Hawaii. I'll never forget it. We were on vacation. I could point to the place on the road where I said this. Somehow it came up and I said, oh, so you believe in Jesus? Like that Jesus is the Son of God and he came down and he died for everyone's sins. And she goes, yeah, I definitely believe that. And I was like, oh, that's a big problem for me personally because I don't think that way. But then I just was like, oh, is it a problem for me? Big deal. She thinks that. I don't think this. And for the first time ever, I was in no hurry to try to win her over to my side of anything.
That's a big
whatever.
deal.
Yeah, she can exist in her own identity and think what she thinks, and I can think what I think. It's easier to take that laid back view of it when it's just the two of you. Like, who knows where this will end up? Who knows how maybe I'll become a Christian? Maybe she will not be a Christian. Who knows what is going to happen? When you have kids, it feels immediate that the compromise has to be figured out today because you're about to enact some kind of policy.
Yes.
And that's what I think puts the screws on the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it's second to second, minute to minute at all times. This is sort of interesting and coming back to the tattoo thing, but talks to parenting, which is like you go through such fucking big and little things with parenting. And, there was something about when we were single, the identity of being like, no tattooed, and like you're gonna play the persona of like the tattooed one, and then you get married and you have kids, and when you have kids, all of a sudden it's like, how do we keep them alive and make sure that they're good people? Very basic things. It has nothing to do with like vanity for a second, right? And forever. Vanity can come back in just for the sake of like yourself and for your sexuality or your attraction, but like there's something just so holistically base and simple and basic, right? And when we had 2 home births,
right.
So my first with Nova was in Brooklyn, and I felt very empowered. Like Scott and I had gone through a schism in our relationship for the first time right before we got pregnant. That was cataclysmic for 2 people who were just like, we're just a tornado of love and sexuality and lust. And then it was like, whoa, first major schism, we're pregnant, and then it was like, oh God, now we got to fix the pieces whilst me being like, what's happening to my body? And anyway, so the home birth was like this amazing kind of bonding, primal, he was holding me and I'm like on the ground, there's blood and shit and sweat and it's just like birth,
Yeah.
And
a human explosion.
Yes, exactly. And when my daughter came out, she had the cord wrapped around her neck, the umbilical cord, and it was very scary. And she was on my chest and she wasn't breathing. And the midwife gave her 3 life-saving breaths on my chest, and my husband was there, and she came to life.
Wow.
And we saw it. And we were like, we are here. And of course, when you've just birthed, you're not like crying, and that's all surface, right?
Yeah.
This is like, is she okay? She is? Good. And that's what it is.
Like a wildebeest on the
you're
plains.
just like, is it okay?
Right.
It isn't?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she not with us? She is, or she is. It's literally
Right.
like,
Yeah.
Yes, it's black and white.
And especially if you have no drugs through you, you're just like, I am in this experience like an animal.
Yeah.
And so I felt very empowered by that experience, right? So after you go through that, and then you go through marriage shit and parenting, and oh my God, this is insane. We've chalked it up to the next level. Then I got pregnant again. And this time we were in LA and things were different. And I said, I want a home birth again. And we had Ozzy at home. I was huge. It was 11 pounds.
Oh,
Whoa.
that's
Okay.
too big.
I looked-
That's just too big.
It is, but the same thing happened. So I was at home and he had the cord wrapped around
Jeez.
and he was on my chest and he was not coming to.
Ugh.
And that is scene You're with your husband, and now you're in fucking real and life and death. Okay. Your child is there, and, the entire room is trying to resuscitate him, and they can't. And the paramedics are on their way. He's still there.
Oh,
This person you don't know.
oh, this is like the apex of powerlessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And my husband's fucking capable, and he is paramedic now, but he literally certified. We couldn't get him to come to.
oh,
So there's this little man that I don't even know. And the paramedics come in, the cord is still on. So he has oxygen through my blood. And then they cut the cord, and Scott ran out half naked. I was naked after my, 7 hours of laboring.
Scott ran out
with Ozzy. And
got in an ambulance.
Got in an ambulance.
Oh.
And then the midwife says to me, shaking, "You need to birth the placenta." And I was like, usually the way it was with Nova, you have your baby on your chest.
Yeah.
And your body instinctually knows what, because also there's all this like oxytocin.
Yeah.
You're in this surging area. It's the milk comes. That's how your body's built. It's an amazing, beautiful machine,
Yeah.
and system. I couldn't.
It was just
I
all
was just
arrested.
bleeding out. Yeah. And so they had to give me Pitocin, and then it came out, and it's all in my bathroom.
Oh my God.
And-
so Pitocin they give people to induce labor, so they had to induce your placenta.
The placenta. And all midwives have that.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they traditionally do that. They give you a hit of Pitocin right at the end to birth the placenta at home.
Okay.
So that you don't bleed out, basically.
Okay.
So then, you do that. And then, of course, I was 11 pounds. I need to be sewn up.
Yeah.
So they take you to the bed. And I just was like looking at my phone, and they were like sewing me up as I'm looking at my phone. And I get a little video from Scott seeing little Ozzy just barely taking breaths with the oxygen mask going.
Oh.
And I just passed out.
Oh.
Wow.
Because I was like, he's alive. And I just passed out.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with it is that this is the kind of shit you deal with when you are married, when you have children, and that life and death is imminently a part of your existence and your daily commute in life. And he was in the NICU for 11 days. He was hypoxic. He was without oxygen for longer than the 4 minutes that is associated with being okay. And Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, saved his life.
Wow.
He was on a cold bed for 72 hours
Why are they in a cold bed?
because it slows any brain trauma. Basically, they found children who had fallen in ice lakes or something like that.
Right.
who
Oh,
had
right.
Undergone trauma.
Yeah.
That actually their results had been better than say people
Interesting.
who hadn't. So they had him on a cold bed. So here's your little person, and he's intubated, and he has
And you must.
hundreds of wires and tubes all over him.
And at this point, you must have fear that, oh no, he might not ever be cognizant and alert and
so
all
you're
these
in
things,
the
right?
hospital, and I'm in a wheelchair because I'm bleeding. I can't even walk after birthing an 11-pound baby at home, and my mental state is not well. My husband and I both, Scott slept there every night. We were told that he could be cerebral palsy or never walk or talk, and that was our reality. And I never have shared the story, but I share it because I think it's also really important to know that when you step through life with someone, and also I think it's Ozzy's story, and I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of walking out of that hospital, with a clean bill of health. And you don't know, the brain is deeply complex. And our neurologist was saying that, you can look at an MRI of a medical student and a person with cerebral palsy, and they can have a similar MRI.
Right.
It's very confusing that things aren't clear, cut, set in stone.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very mercurial and strange and mysterious. And so we did walk out with a clean MRI after just the most egregious up and down of my entire life. I mean, I was medicated after in order to walk.
Yeah.
I remember driving to the hospital every day because, it's like I had Nova too,
Right. Yeah.
I had to be mommy.
And she was what, 2?
She was 2.5. But I remember they were driving to the hospital and not knowing how to look down at people on the street. because there would be all these like little flashes of life where you see a mother trying to get her son into the goddamn car seat or whatever. Will you get in there, please? I said, now I'm not going to say it twice, and you see it and I'm like, I don't know if I'll get to yell at my son like that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like she doesn't know how lucky she is in that moment.
Right.
You get very in the weeds, obsessed with everything.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so I would just like crane my eye line up and I would just look at the sky and the clouds and I would be like, oh, that's constant. Okay, it's just the sky. Yep, still doing its thing up there. And like it like helped. Like when you're in very traumatic situations, I think you have to like lock on to something in nature or that is unmoving, unchanging, unwavering forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
So my wiring is such that I would have gone to guilt, shame, I didn't protect. Somehow this is my fault. I would take on all that terrible whole situation. You took that on?
I took it on because I was insistent to have a home birth and I've dealt with that since, obviously you can blame the midwife, you can blame yourself, but ultimately the result is the only thing that matters. Right. And so I've gone through therapy and I was medicated for like a year and a half and I did wean myself off, but I was on antidepressants to help me kind of regulate. I mean, I barely take Advil, but I was like, oh, this is absolutely imperative in order for me to function. And I think that pregnancy and birth, and particularly labor and birth, experiencing it twice now and being in your house is very strange,
Yeah.
There was like blood on our sheets and I wouldn't let Scott clean them. This was for Nova's birth, which was very positive. But like, with Ozzy's birth, we literally left that house,
Right. Yeah.
With Nova's birth, I was like, I fucking earned the shit out of that blood. I was like, nope, keep it right there. Which is maybe people are like, that's gross. But it was like war. But what I find about labor and birth is that it is the most extraordinary, ordinary thing. Because every motherfucker goes through it. Most women, regardless of social niveau or, background or race or religion, there's no getting out of it that it hurts or that it's extraordinary or that it's life and death and high stakes. It just is what it is. And I remember being like mid-labor and looking to my midwife and saying, is this what people do? Is this what people do? Is this what people are doing? And she was like, yeah. But okay, so after all this malarkey and all this insanity and all this amazing magical mayhem, I said to Scott after I was like weaning off of my meds and I had this incredible little boy who he rolled over at 2 months and then he started walking at 9 months as if to say, Mom, I got this.
Yeah. You can let yourself off the hook, bitch.
Yeah.
I can't
and just
live
like,
with
I'm
this.
working my ass off to hit these milestones early so you can chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I said to Scott, I was like, I want a tattoo. And I want my children's names because it doesn't matter anymore that I'm like the one without. It doesn't. All of that is a fake story.
All
Like, who
these
cares?
identity markers we give ourselves.
I was like, I need to be stamped with my children on either side of me, like warrior pain. I didn't ask, and look, I'm a deeply visual person. I have a lot of opinions, but I literally came to him and I was like, you do whatever you want. You know me.
But back to your earlier point, you guys will probably die holding hands, so let's hope. But regardless of whatever your future holds, to your point about it being a successful relationship, the fact that you two went through that experience together and you were there for each other in a myriad of ways, that's a huge success. It's a humongous
1,000%.
success. As far as just meeting another human on planet Earth, sharing something with them, helping each other, that's like about as good as it gets.
Totally. You don't know. You really don't know where your relationship is going. Because I think that's what I learned the most. When you get married and you really commit, you usually go through seismic shit. Like ostensibly, you're like, I'm going to get married to you. And that means I got to like you enough and love you enough not to like walk through the world together. It's like you have to be able to shovel shit together and still like each other after.
Like, I think it'll teach you patience because it's going to blow at times. It's going to be great at times. And if you can hold on to a kernel of hope at all times that, oh, we've been through a lot of shit and likely we will get through this shit, and I can be patient and I can hold on to the kernel of hope.
Also, I think the thing that I was learning, because I am a child of divorce, I used to say to my mom, I don't like mad. Which is like, she always brings it up with me. I just said, I don't like mad. And that was when people are arguing or someone's angry at me. I still don't like mad. And I don't like mad. I don't like to be mad. I don't like people being mad at me.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting thing that when you're in a committed relationship as an adult, you have to be comfortable when people are mad at you.
Yeah.
It's okay. It doesn't mean you're gonna die.
Exactly.
Are you the oldest? You're the firstborn?
I'm the middleest.
Oh, you're the middleest.
I have two younger sisters
Oh.
who are half, and then I have my older brother.
One I'm in love with. Right?
You're in love with Josie.
Josie. I think the song Firework perhaps was written about her. I don't know.
She's one of the greats.
But even more attractive than her was her then, I don't know where they're at now, her then boyfriend, who was a Navy SEAL, whose body is just, it could rival Charlie's.
Oh,
It is really, I
He will show you.
Yeah, and I could not stop looking at these pictures. Right when I met her, she was talking about them. I said, do you have any shirtless photos
She was
of
like,
them?
oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then we just sat
She's
there.
like, dick or no dick?
yes.
I'm sure he chose dick.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. I gotta see what's happening
I
under
think
the
you saw
hood.
just the top, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Great arrows.
Yeah.
Really great arrows. Oh my God. Monica, did you want to say something?
Monica.
Because I could.
Did I?
My spidey senses were saying to
You're
go.
in a
Maybe
safe. You're in a
Well,
safe
I will
place.
say that I love your shoes. Lake has awesome shoes. on.
Oh.
she's got all around great style.
And yeah, you do. And we're a shoe person here, not mine. Don't look at mine.
I'm looking. I am looking at them. I'm so sorry. I just can't. Now that you've told me not to, I just can't even. That's the only thing I can look at.
Okay, so we're talking a lot about womanhood in a lot of ways. I think there's an interesting trajectory that you've been on professionally that I think overlaps really well with that topic. In your lifetime, having acted starting at a young age, you went to college in England, you were in plays in London, you came out and you started working really quickly.
That my first thing was probably like 22 or 23.
Did you have a scene with George Clooney?
No.
Oh,
I know.
okay.
It was such a big cast, you know what I mean? I was like on a different thread. I was just like a guest star on the side. And I had to vomit. That was
Oh,
my first.
geez.
Yeah.
My
on
first
camera.
role in a movie was Vomiteer at Party. Yes, it actually says it on IMDb.
Vomiteer.
Vomiteer at Party.
That's
Yeah.
hard to do.
It is hard because you have to hold pea soup in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a long time because it was one of those really long Steadicam shots.
Oof.
Where it was like, a gurney comes in, come on, stat, la, la, la. You know, it was like in the cold open, like
yeah.
it flows through and there's like 100 things happening and then it lands on me and I go, blah, like that. And that's that.
Yeah, knowing you could ruin an 8-minute shot has got to be the most stressful
yeah.
The
thing.
sweat
On your
was.
first-
I
And
think
also,
Tanya had a story about that. Like the shot 9 minutes later lands on him and he's forgotten his lines. It's like his first thing. I'm like,
is.
oh, what could be worse?
It's really bad. I was like, Lake, you better fucking nail this. Okay, you went to
Yeah.
drama school in England for 4 years. You studied the classics, Elizabethan dramas. You better vomit like nobody's business. This is it.
And we've talked to a couple different actors that were in this position where you've had roles that likely won't exist in the future.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I've thought about it recently too, where I was like, oh, I will never probably have to wear a push-up bra like that ever again for work.
And also just the architecture of the old man and the young hot wife.
Yeah.
Because we had
Evan Rachel.
Evan Rachel Wood, who has been, maybe in 4 movies married to someone 20 years older than her. And she's a very empowered woman. And
Yeah.
you're a very empowered woman. And that's what was on the table 15 years ago.
100%.
I don't really know that any movies are getting greenlit right now where like there's a 55-year-old guy going through a midlife crisis and has,
I know. I remember on Boston Legal, I was so jazzed to be there. And I was basically hired to be this 24-year-old, fresh out of law school lawyer who wanted to, I'm still powerful, but I'm going to dress like a hooker, basically.
Right,
that was
sure.
you literally part of my description.
Oh my God.
brains for days, ass for dazers.
Totally. There's that Twitter account that's got all of those character descriptions of women. It's really hilarious. We get into it in the writer's room sometimes. So I was one of those. The push-up, I remember coming to my dressing room and it was just only sort of push-up bras, big old and by the way, I had huge boobs. I don't anymore after 2 kids, but like it was just like
outrageous
fat,
stuff.
fat naturals. That's what we call them here
Oh,
on this
big naturals, I thought.
Oh, we call them faturals, fat naturals, or faturals, but PH.
Okay.
Faturals. This is one of the few things I know about you personally, is I think it's probably a lot more relatable than I would have ever given it credit for, which is you told me at dinner once, you just kind of woke up in this crazy body that men could not ignore, and that you were very interested in people's intelligence and their worldview, and you loved getting into it and talking in furious debate and passionate debate. And having to remember, like, oh, these fucking guys, they can't get past this thing.
Yeah, because I was like really underdeveloped in my sexuality, but like very physically developed.
Your body really outpaced your...
Yeah. It was like a typical thing of like, I was really scrawny as a kid, right? Like I really was though. So like, sorry, like that's just the fucking
just the truth.
This is the fucking truth. I was very scrawny, and you know, it was like Lake has no waves, you know, having your name being Lake. Like, there was a lot of that, right?
Okay.
Sure.
So,
Lake
you know,
has
I'm going to
no
jump in the
waves.
lake, but it's not, you know.
Oh,
and
wow. It's a little bit of a...
I know. But, you know what I mean? It's there. It's low-hanging
Sure.
fruit.
It's there for the taking.
Then I was like, Lake Superior. And they're like, that's not that good. You know, and I was like, all right, Lake Titicaca. They're like, you're back with me now. So anyway, it was unsettling, but cool because I definitely was like very scrawny, and then came into this like body that was like very voluptuous or whatever. And I remember I had gone to France as a kid for like school year abroad or whatever. I ate so much food there. I remember when I came back from France, like I gained a lot of weight finally, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, you're 16 and you're an idiot and you're like, I'm so fat or whatever
Right,
it
of
is, right?
course,
Because you're
yeah.
a total moron. And then you realize, oh, no. You just have boobs now and a butt, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, oh.
Hello.
And I was like, oh, this is like some cool accessory that I can like utilize.
So it's a paradox, right? Because it's nice to get attention.
attention, yeah.
And of course, you don't want the attention to be about that at
It's also
times.
like a prop. Like you were kind of like, oh, you'd like look at magazines and stuff and be like, oh, if I wear this kind of clothes, I can look like that magazine. And that's kind of cool because like all the people that I'm thinking are cool, I'm like, oh, that looks hot and sexy or whatever. And I'm exploring sexuality in my body. But I was like not ready yet to like actually do anything. I just was like interested in expressing sexually my, you know, physicality, you know, so I learned really quickly to utilize it and then desexualize situations. Oh, if I wanted the attention of someone, I didn't understand what I was doing, I think, at 17, 18, where you're like, oh, I can get the attention of this person. Now they're paying attention to me. And so I got them in here and now I can actually talk to them and like be funny.
Yeah.
Like they can be funny back. And
My
we can have
faturals got me in the door, but now it's time to talk about metaphysics.
Yeah, and then they'd be like, we're fucking, you know, and I'm like, what? You know?
Yeah. So I guess I'm just curious how that played into then initially having roles where it's very on display that you're hot.
In a similar way that when you're intimate in roles and stuff like that, it's not real. You're playing out
A character. Sure.
And it felt good in a way to be like sexy.
Right?
Like,
It's an incredibly powerful thing.
yeah, it felt powerful. And I think especially as I started to direct, I remember that the same year I directed In a World and it went to Sundance, that was the same year I was on the cover of Esquire naked. And also I think New York Magazine naked, fully naked. I remember getting confusion from that. Definitely my dad was like annoyed with it. But let's roll it back a little bit. I felt, this was my MO, was like, well, why does my sexuality and my femininity have to be curbed because I wrote and directed a movie?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I just trying to figure
Why
that
do you
out.
have to choose?
Yeah, because I was like, it feels really hot to be in a visual that's like a beautiful image that makes me feel like fucking like now you're uncomfortable, motherfucker. You know, like I'm not. I'm standing here naked, and you know, you seem to be the one having a problem with it, right? So that was the thing.
Sure.
But then in hindsight, and now as I sit here, I don't know if it's an age thing, and especially nowadays, like I don't think anyone really needs to be on the cover of a magazine fully naked as a woman. I don't know. I'm like struggling with it a little bit. I'm kind of like, why are we doing that?
I think the whole thing is like individually, how do you feel about it?
Right.
If you love being naked, go for it. And if you like to be covered up, you know, either or, you should be respected either way.
I think I used to like it. Maybe I don't like it as much now. In the same breath, you know, when I do a photo shoot and I am dressed sexy or whatever it is, I still can access what's beautiful about that and powerful.
Right.
It's just like the conversation in my mind is still there, and I don't have to have a definitive answer about how I feel about it, but it's evolving right now where I'm like, interesting. And I speak to other friends of mine who are like big movie stars, and they're kind of like, yeah, what were we doing? Why are we on the cover of a magazine with our underwear on? It's my underwear. Like, what were we doing? Like, there is a little bit of that going on.
Sure. But then again, I would also argue, although probably not the majority, we're not talking about the majority, there are women that are very visually stimulated.
Yeah.
They like nudity. I love nudity. I want to see everyone naked.
Sure.
And I'm sure there are women that feel like me. I don't think it's a majority, but certainly some women are like, they love nudity.
I guess that's what it is. Look, that's why I'm not, the jury's not out. I feel like I agree with you. It's compelling.
I just don't like when someone parks their own insecurities on someone else and tries to make a thing out of it. Like, you might not feel comfortable doing that. That's fine, but you shouldn't.
Because I think it's like, because historically in this business, the objectification's so insane.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
So
undeniable.
I hear what you're saying. If as society we're saying women can be in their skivvies and should be in their skivvies, even though they're really intellectually interesting or compelling or badass motherfucking actors or creators or whatever, but they're in their underwear, like that's normal. Like that's where I start to get confused, where I go, wait, why?
And also,
It's like-
why is that the thing we're showcasing about the person?
It's like if Einstein was on the cover with his dick out.
Or just like in his underwear, in a revealing bathing suit. Einstein.
Or if in every interview he had to talk about his dick size at some point.
Yes.
We just wouldn't sexualize.
Do you want to cover it?
I would
do you wanna,
love to. It'd be one of my first questions to Einstein. Because he has BDE. I mean, that hairstyle, he has some confidence. So you do a bunch of things. You did a bunch of movies. I just got to say, I read it today, and I just want to applaud the fact that did you date Colin Farrell for a second after you guys worked together?
If you got that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank God you did. He just at that time for me, he was the only one rivaling Brad Pitt. I could stare at him
because we did Pride and Glory together, and it was like one of my first really kind of fancy movies that I've ever done. And I remember sort of seeing him from afar and being like, well, that guy, seems to not know how to not curse on camera. What's wrong with, what's up with that? Like, he's an incredible person and very magnetic. And I think that there's like poetic and like very romantic. And I feel like unexpected, I think, is what's the most
mixed
enticing.
messages. Monica and I are very attracted to. We love mixed messages.
Yeah. But I mean, he was just cool. I was like, Jesus Christ. I felt so cool to be in that movie. It was like John Voight and like Ed Norton. And
And we discovered Bree was Gavin's assistant on that movie, which is such a bizarre.
That's crazy.
So once you had the opportunity, you directed a short was the first thing you did, right?
I directed Worst Enemy.
Worst Enemy. And was there someone you were like, oh, that's the career that I want?
I didn't have necessarily anyone that I was, I want to be like that person. If anything, it was like, a different time, but I was obsessed with Woody Allen movies. I grew up with them. King of Comedy was my favorite movie at the time, even though it's not Woody. And it was Scorsese. And I was like, I'm so just like turned on by beautiful visuals. And, my mom's an interior decorator and very visual. I grew up looking at just architecture and texture and color. And literally she would think about like how the light comes in a room and how white looks different on the wall over there than it does the wall near here. It's like I was very, very sensitive to visuals.
That explains Colin Farrell. Continue.
And so that mixed with my being attracted to great comedic films, I was like, I want to make something. I wrote In a World, actually, the feature of it, almost closeted. Like I did it while I was shooting How to Make It in America. I wrote it before I made Worst Enemy, but I took it to my agent and he said, well, we shopped for directors on it. And as we were shopping, he was like, He's like, I feel like you're never going to find the right director for this. Why don't you do it? And I was like, are you kidding me? I would never direct something if I've never directed anything before. He's like, then write a short film and fucking direct that. And so I was like, that's a great idea. So I wrote Worst Enemy in like 3 days or something. And I just was like, let's do this. And the long story short, I loved Miranda July. I thought she was incredible. She just was somebody who was like a beautiful spirit animal to kind of guide me a little bit.
So at the same time, like 2008-ish, I guess, is Children's Hospital. You get on that. So did you seek out like a comedic expression, or did they find you? How did you start steering in that direction?
So true, because I was doing all drama and literally couldn't get hired on comedies. I think at the time I was going out for like hot girl stuff, again, the big naturals, if you will.
Yeah.
And
I like that you guys call them big naturals.
Yeah.
That's kinda
Well,
fun,
I
too.
don't, but I
don't.
like it.
No, I mean her camp.
Yeah, my
she came in with,
oh.
We're in the fat naturals camp. She's in the big naturals
yeah,
camp.
it's a little different.
Big is just such a clumsy word.
No,
I know,
I
but-
actually like. Okay, my whole problem with the whole phrase in general was the fat portion of it. So I like big.
big natural.
I might convert.
Oh, whoa.
might-
Wow.
I'll get back to you
It's a
on
big
that.
There's
day.
a schism.
Anyway, so the point is, I think I did Mismatch was the first slightly comedic, right? I was like the brunette best friend of Alicia Silverstone on a Darren Star show, right? So that was like, oh, and I actually like this. I like being this like wacky. I like this wackiness. It makes me really happy. I leave work laughing, and it felt really natural. Like, I was like, oh, I've been doing this offline a lot. With my family, when there was scary shit, like me and my brother were like doing bits, you know what I mean? And I would make him laugh.
Cut and tension.
Yes, cut intention left and right. And the way my main mechanism for desexualizing situations with guys, when the big naturals came in, I was like, I got to get funny quick. You know what I mean? Because I got to deflect the situation.
Yes.
And so that was like my main tool.
Your judo.
That was kind of the first thing. And then I got What Happens in Vegas.
Yes.
That was a huge change.
Your first
point.
of two Kutcher movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rob Corddry and I became really fast friends, and we were kind of each other's counterparts on that movie. Like he was like the wacky best friend of Ashton, and I was like the wacky best friend of Cameron. I spit in his mouth at one point in a take. We like had to make out furiously and be ridiculous and improvise. And he was kind of like, hi,
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
Hi, fellow
part of-
sailor at sea.
Exactly. And I was like, thank you for acknowledging me. Thank you for seeing me. And then he asked me to come and do Children's Hospital, which was a little web series. The first season was just me, Aaron Hayes, Ken Marino, Corddry, and Rob Hubel. And Megan Mullally was part of it, and Offerman came on, and then Mullen, and they were 15-minute episodes. It was so low commitment, no logic, totally irreverent, fucking crazy, and so fun. It was just comedy camp, and I've never had a troupe like that ever. I got inducted into a group that then became family, and then obviously 7 years later it was like we are family now. They supported me as I started directing. I directed children's hospitals as well.
Well, and then in full honesty, I was aware of you for the last 13 years. I knew who Lake Bell was, but I had not seen you act until I saw Wet Hot.
Oh shit. Really?
Yes, Kristen and I watched Wet Hot, and we were like, oh my goodness, Lake is brilliant in this show. Because at this point, we're already at preschool together, I believe.
Oh shit, yeah.
Which goes all the way back really quick. The first time we chatted at the school was I have a very big truck. I talked about this one time on here. On the podcast, I have shame when I drive that truck to that school because it's very granola-y and progressive. And I'm like, oh, God, they're mad that I have a diesel truck and everyone thinks I'm an asshole. Yes. Well, and I remember even thinking I saw your car because you had a really cool old Toyota Land Cruiser.
1988 Land Cruiser.
So I was aware of your vehicle, as I know everyone's vehicle. So I was like, oh, shit, Lake's here. I got to time this so when I get in my truck, she doesn't see me. This is going to be a big check against me. And then you saw me, and then I just was like, I tow a really heavy trailer. That's why I have to have this truck.
I feel like
This
you
is
were very
I-
defensive out of the gate.
100%. I was like, I tow a very heavy trailer. I have to have this truck to tow this trailer that's very heavy. And you were like, no, my dad races cars. My dad redid VIR. And I was like, what? And then we talked cars for like 15 minutes.
I like that I immediately was like, no. I'm digging it. And I'm part of the club. Like, I get it. I'm part of the club.
Yes. Whatever the big naturals term for gearheads is, you were saying you had many toes in that water.
I actually think I was like, oh, I wonder, because I was aware of you too. I had seen the freebie. For me, I just knew you mostly from the freebie.
Which again is really funny because I saw you in something that was not your main lane. And then you saw me in something that was not my main lane.
I know.
Yeah.
And so look at us.
Look at this. This is
Now
interesting.
We're on a TV show together.
Yeah, here we are sharing a lane.
I know. Sharon Elaine. But the car thing was like, I was aware of your motorheadness.
Oh.
I was actually like, thank God he's seeing the 1988 Land Cruiser. You know what I mean? I'm going to get mad props for this shit.
And you did. And you did.
And
Yeah,
thank God, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, what's he driving? Oh, interesting. Okay, that adds up. You know what I mean? He's an off-road guy. I do know that. You know? So I was
Yes,
like,
and your dad has always wanted to race Baja 1000, as I have wanted to.
And he has this like incredible machine that he wants to kind of. My dad, just for backstory, my dad is Harvey Segal, and he's like in the race car.
He built New Jersey
Motorsport Park and VIR.
Yeah.
Really importantly, VIR, because he really like developed that from the ground up. It was in a
shambles,
track,
right? Yeah.
Built in the 70s and famous in the 70s, and then it kind of like was left to nothing and derelict. And then my dad came in with love, and so it's like that's his real like soulful
It was
project.
the Stuckey's of racetracks. Do you remember that chain, Stuckey's? It was all along the eastern seaboard on I-75.
I sort of know what is that?
Well, it was mostly like a truck stop type of restaurant, like a Cracker Barrel, I
like
guess.
a
It
come and go?
predate, like a come and go, a squirt and jerk, slap and suck, but
No,
whatever.
Come and go is an actual.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay.
I saw it for the first time like a month ago in
Arkansas.
Alabama. Where were we?
We were in Bentonville, Arkansas,
Yes.
and it's not only is it come and
Why
go.
is it C-U-M?
No. It's K-U-M.
Oh, it's K. Still. Why?
We came up with some really funny words. Remember, we renamed it while we were
I can't
there.
remember what they were.
Yeah, it was
but
like spray and stay, or come and go, or spray and stays up the street if you want to spend a little more time there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but come and go is just like straight up unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
And it's primarily in the Bible Belt too, ironically.
no.
They added the K because it's the South.
Well, that's
They wanted
another
okay.
conversation Monica and I have
Stop.
had. Yeah, they put a K in front of everything.
Yeah, they like K's
Anytime-
over there.
Anytime a C could be replaced by a K, you bet it's going to be.
I know.
It's like taking
uneasy.
the S and replacing it with the Z, you know.
But with the historic Ku Klux Klan connotation mixed in.
Understood, but I blew right over that.
Yeah. To me, it's just no one's pointing that out. Every place is like 1K shy of it. Krispy Kreme is KK.
Yeah.
They're almost there. Anyways, I love Krispy
I've
Kreme.
never even
Put that together.
Yeah.
Oh, when you go down south, man, it is all
It's all over the place.
Yeah. Anywho, we love the South.
Oh, yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
I don't even know if you've realized this, but the two feature films you've written and directed both contain ellipses in the title.
I am aware.
You are aware.
I am aware.
That's a rare distinction.
It is a rare distinction. It wasn't like I set out to plan it.
I do.
I had a different title.
... until I don't.
Yeah, it was
the second one.
And in a world.
dot. Okay.
Yeah. And it is weird having an ellipsis. And
Do you know your acting is a little bit ellipses? Have you thought of that?
oh wait, what?
You have a style of acting
Where I
which
do a lot of ellipses. You're
you
right.
do. It's a theme.
Yes. Yeah, I start something and then an ellipsis and then I come back in. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right.
At that time, let's see, it's 2011. It wasn't the norm for actors to be writing and directing. Certainly not women, female actresses
Yeah.
to write and direct, right?
Right.
So in 2011, that was like, this is what you're doing,
Yeah.
what's this magic trick? So I think at Sundance, I got like a lot of heat on that, and it was very cool. And then the short film did great and got like little awards, and same with In a World. I made it, and I thought, oh my God, directing really satiates a lot of my creative bones and from all directions. And I was like, I'm home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like it's storytelling from every direction. And I get bored easily with one thing. So the idea is I love the sort of creative journey that directing something takes you on. So, and especially as somebody who's like a filmmaker, if you will, like in quotes, where you're writing it. So you're like lonely writing it, but you're in your brain. You get to, like dork out to the cerebral nature of that existence. And then as you start to prep it, it's like more people come on board, and then we're collaborating. And I love team sports, and this is great. And wear comfy shoes. And then you're actually like
Wear comfy shoes.
and then you're like making it, and that is like athletic, right? So you got your comfy shoes, you got your fanny pack, you're like ready to go, drink a lot of water, stay hydrated, let's do this. And then back to the kind of like quiet of post-production, which is also like didactic and like quick, it's like details, and it's a different part of your brain completely. There was just so many like parts of it that satisfy so many different creative itches, because obviously it's like you learn directing from being in the trenches as an actor, right? Like you're from the inside of the machine, looking at all of it, sopping it in, being a sponge, being a respectful sponge, observing, and then, I feel like I could access that and I could do a good job using those muscles. You don't know yet until you do it. It's more theoretical. You're like, I think I could do that. And then you do it and you're like, I could fail at this, but maybe not, and then you do it and you go, oh, fucking, I love this. All right,
Yeah.
Because now I have to pee. Can I pee?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me come right
I have
back.
to pee too.
Oh, wonderful. I love that you said you had to pee, because I've had to pee for over an hour, but I just like,
I
there's
didn't know
something
if
in
you
me.
did. I was wondering if you did. And the way
so
that you were
bad.
sitting, though, you spread your legs and got your feet up there. And I thought I wouldn't be able to do that if I had to pee.
Sure.
So that's why
Without
I
some
started to like...
Incontinence.
Yeah. Now, if I had 2 kids, and remember, one of them was 11 pounds, so can't fuck around, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. No, but we were talking about directing. We skipped over one thing that I imagine is a crucial element to your story is when you did No Strings Attached, you meet Liz Merriweather.
yes, No Strings Attached, which was originally called Fuck Buddies.
Right.
Genius script.
I love that movie.
I know. It was so great. I met Liz Merriweather there, and she was like hilarious. She was so self-deprecating, still is. And we just like hit it off and we became friends. She was like a wonderkind coming from like New York play scene.
Michigan stock, good Michigan stock.
Yeah,
I think
Ann
that's
Arbor
how we
stock.
explain it. Yeah.
Ostensibly, I was playing her in the movie because my character's like a self-deprecating, awkward TV executive or like junior executive or something like that. It's super hearing in her head and cerebral. And now knowing Liz, like even more so, it really is that.
Well, it's a very fun mix because it's that self-conscious thing you're talking about, but also a total willingness to share what she's going through at all times.
Oh my God.
So it's a very wonderful, funny, disarming.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, like for Bless This Mess, we would be like pitching on it. We would be in like a boardroom of executives and we have like our on-book scripted pitch that we're doing. And this is like Liz, like we would be like talking about the show and marriage and all this stuff. And then she would just be like, I was once dating a guy. And I'm like, oh God. She's like, I don't know. Like I teabagged his balls. And I'm like, the whole room is kind of like crickets. And I'm like, my wife, ladies and gentlemen, my wife, like I was like, we have the opposite things. I'm like, how can I make everyone feel comfortable?
It's
in
funny
this room?
you have found two of us because immediately when I started talking to Liz, I was like, oh, we need a third person here to make sure we don't get sued. Like someone needs to be pulling us by the sleeve and going, oh, you've said plenty about your penis.
It is very disarming. Like both you and Liz have the thing of like, there's nothing salacious, not like that tonally, but of course in the transcript.
In a court transcript.
Yep.
It's
my personality does not come through in a.
No, I mean literally in the writer's room, Liz and I, every day she says, "Can you sue me for that?" She's like, what about that? Is that illegal? Like I always checking to see if it's illegal.
On Chips, I had to make a speech to everyone, the very landmark Friends writer's room case, which they determined. Do you know that case?
Mm-mm.
A writer's assistant sued the Friends writer's room for sexual harassment, and the verdict in the court case was no, that's a creative space, and in a creative space you're going to throw things up on the wall that are too far, and that's how you know to walk them back and find the line. And so basically a creative space was given some precedent.
Oh.
So when I started Chips, I was like, hey guys, I'm the writer and the director, and if you're within 5 feet of me, that's the bubble. I'm going to say stuff that's too much, and that's how we'll find out.
That's interesting.
So don't come sincerely. Don't come within the 5 foot bubble of me if you're sensitive. It's not a good place for you to be. I'm going to try a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Some's going to work and end up in the movie, but I need the latitude to explore that with other people around me.
Right. I definitely operate from a different position.
Yeah. Tell me. Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear you say that. And because I know with Liz, like we have become, yin and yang in that where, she'll like say something really uncouth or just hazing someone in a playful way, in a very Liz Merriweather, funny, smart, sharp way. Like, I fucking love her. Like, that's why I enjoy working with her. I get to be the kind of mom on a little bit
Sure.
where I'm just like, okay, well, let's move on from that. And teabagging aside, I would love a matcha, So, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I think we work well together in that way. I think it's my mom's waspiness or something, even though like I have Jewish blood. I feel I tread right in between the wasp and the Jew. And the waspy part of me wants to make sure that everyone in the room is comfortable. And especially when I'm directing and just in general, I'm like, why make anyone feel uncomfortable?
Sure,
I'm just
sure.
like
Yeah.
so into like, if you're feeling good, I'm feeling good, and let's move forward. Everyone can feel comfortable and safe in a space. But then, the Jew in me loves, to like
Turn the table upside down
a little bit, but
Yeah.
never at the expense of someone else. It's like I'm
Right.
so delicate about that.
Right.
But anyway, I think we make a good team for that reason. She doesn't like to necessarily at all
She doesn't-
write comedy that is at the expense
No,
or mean
she doesn't have a mean bone in her body.
Yeah.
She's very, very
She's
kind
just
and
cheeky.
Yeah.
and that's fun.
Yeah. And it's interesting because did you watch Fleabag? You don't watch anything.
I don't watch anything, but I did a movie with her.
You
But
did?
yes, but like I did Man Up, which was a movie I did with Simon Pegg. I went to drama school in England. You just have like a whole secret life of like existing as this British person, the person that went to drama school.
Did you
there.
try on a new personality while you were over there?
Oh, I mean, I was within the accent. It went way too far. Like, I just literally never, ever left the accent. Scott was like, fuck you. He was like, drop it. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Because I had to improvise within the accent.
Sure.
So in order to
Can
do
you
that,
talk a little bit to me in it?
you want me to be like, actually Nazi? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Oh, no, I fucking do
It's
it.
really
yeah.
good.
Oh, no, it's horrid.
we love accents.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, let's get into it. All right.
She seems British when she's doing like your whole body.
Do you know what? It's a bit mad, yeah. But look, I'm not even trained at the moment, but because, in a world and stuff, like I am very obsessed with accents and dialects. Like I'm very exposing right now because I'm not in my muscle of that accent, but I can like play a little bit. But within, for instance, my favorite British accent is 100% like the Southeast London. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like talking like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, right. Anyway, we were talking about Fleabag. She was just she was like a smaller part. And then I remember them talking about, she's amazing. Like, and then cut to, her being like one of the greats. And
Well, all I was going to say, and this to the point of offending people, there are a lot of people that will not like Fleabag.
Why?
Well, because it's vulgar in many ways. It's her point of view. She's talking about getting fucked in the ass, and she's nervous. She has a big ass, and maybe that's the guy says he's never got it in. But it's so authentic and real. It's the truth. It's real.
Yeah.
It's intoxicating. Certainly, many people shouldn't watch that show. That's not for them. And so I do get nervous about someone like her who has a real point of view and a real truth about her life that she's sharing. That someone could put the brakes on her because that's not their comfort zone. If the goal is to make everyone comfortable on a set, again, I know I'm running the risk. I do not want to in any way say that I'm supporting any kind of sexual harassment on a set or any kind of disempowering of people. But I think there's got to be room for people to have a comedic point of view that's not for everyone and that they are able to execute.
yeah, as long as it's not abusive. I
Sure.
think that's the difference, right? Like,
Yeah.
Even if her point of view is raunchy
Yeah.
and kinky, if we want to write a comedy that's super raunchy and kinky, we're putting that out there and being upfront about it, but it's not abusive or racist or offensive, not just because it's offensive to some, but offensive because globally it is.
Yes,
It is
objectively degrading to the people you're talking about.
That's
Yeah.
destructive.
Sure.
So I think that there's a vast difference between.
And I think you and I would draw that line, and that's our definition of it. But I definitely think there's probably someone who shops at Come and Go that would be on that set going, this is sacrilege, and this is deeply offensive, and it's demoralizing to all mankind.
I hope where we're going socially, if you feel uncomfortable, you have the right to walk away or.
And not pay a penalty, career-wise or...
Yeah, I mean, I think that if something within the narrative is being expressed, like, hey, I like getting fucked up the ass or whatever,
Sure.
right? Like if that's the kind of narrative in the story rolling, we're rehearsing.
Yeah.
That's the words on the page.
Right.
Everyone's read the script.
It's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise.
Now, again, though, if she wants to then build on something that's working within that scene that wasn't in the pre-agreed script we're shooting, that's where it potentially...
If cameras are rolling, rehearsal is on, you're
Tough
on the
titties.
stage. You're on the stage of the narrative.
Right.
And within the stage and the privacy and the sanctity of that creative space in front of the cameras,
Yeah.
then I think that's a creative vortex. But out of, by crafty...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or by the dressing rooms
Yeah.
and in the hallways
Yeah.
of that soundstage,
Yeah.
people are fucking around and making people feel uncomfortable because it's a bit of a body narrative. That's where I feel like we have our responsibility to outside of the sanctity of that creative.
Yeah, but even in the scene, if it's like a sex scene and there's going to be some improv, if there's going to be some physical improv,
Right.
should probably say, hey,
Of course.
Like
Yes.
there needs to be some conversations.
Right.
I mean, I've been in both instances
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like I had one scene where there was an assault,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was some improvisation because you don't really do it until the cameras are running
Yes,
because it's
yes,
not
yes.
something you want to really
Practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my character I don't get raped, but it's like the precursor, like it's going to happen.
The
And so
lead up.
Yeah. So they have to, hold me down. And these are all Thai actors who don't speak English.
Oh, great.
wow.
That's ideal.
It was very, off-putting. That said, we had a Thai first AD and an American first AD so that we could sort of communicate.
Navigate all that.
And it was explained what was going to happen. I could look in their eyes, but I still couldn't speak to them. So it's kind of like, all right. Like,
Leap
I
of
don't-
faith,
Yes. So there's some improvisation within there where I still felt safe, like I could do my job, but I feel like the actors didn't go beyond the realm of inappropriateness in terms of my physicality. But it looked brutal as shit and didn't feel great, and it was easy to cry.
Yeah.
But
Also, we're all individual. Again, acknowledging that I am ultimately empowered. I'm a 6'2" white dude. So I like being fucked within a scene. Like, I like feeling a little scared. But again, I'm coming from a much different place.
Yes.
Someone who has power all day long. So, individually for me, when I've had fight scenes, I'm like, no, let's fucking do a little more than this,
yeah.
And again, that's just where I'm coming from.
I mean, I think, like you were saying, I think with sex scenes and stuff like that, I feel like it's important. Like the communication thing makes you feel so safe and therefore more successful in the scene. I like to talk about it, especially as a director. And I'm like, okay, so what we're going to do is, and I like to be like pretty clinical about it. And then when the cameras are rolling, they can get into it as much as they want.
Right.
But we have a plan that's very clinical and asexual.
Yes. We had a scene that really just in a script is one line. Like they practice the Bulgarian wife carry. What is it? What was
Estonian method.
Estonian method wife carry. And so we just have to basically improv us trying to.
It's a comedic beat of them trying to figure out how to do this Estonian wife carry, which is ostensibly me turned upside down like a backpack on your back,
Face in my butt, your legs
my
over
leg.
my shoulders.
which is a real thing. But
Yeah. By the way, when we did it, it was pretty effortless. That is a great method. If I were carrying you like a newborn, I couldn't have ran all
Well,
over the
it was
place.
hard.
But
It's- yeah. I
and
mean, it's
and you as a
hard.
backpack wouldn't have been as easy either. It's
for
like
me, it would have been better if my head was up because the blood
Of
goes to your
course.
head, and then you with the running, the bouncing,
and the jumping. I jumped over a hay bale.
Oh,
once.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. To be honest, it's not great for the woman.
Yeah, it doesn't sound.
But you're right. All the glory goes to the guy in that scenario.
I know.
And I was like,
'cause
well, you were a
he's
great
front of house,
passenger.
too,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
But we had to shoot that scene, and then it turned into some light wrestling, which was quite fun.
it was so fun.
And again, who's to know if you enjoy wrestling until we get to that point?
And you don't know. And that was a fully improvised moment. That's a good point. We also know each other. We were
Yes,
feeling
we know where
safe.
each other we're coming from.
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
And again, that's what I'm most interested in,
Yeah.
both acting and directing. I would put that at my top favorite scene we filmed.
Me too.
It wasn't written, and we didn't know what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And it's like when you walk away with something funny that no one knew, that the reward of is just so much higher for some reason. Because the writing on our show is so fucking good.
Yeah.
I got to say, of any comedic scripts I've read, I laugh out loud like 3 or 4 times, which is very rare having done comedy for so long. There are some unbelievable one-liners. So you walk into all these scenes with pretty high expectations.
Yeah.
So it's like the best you can do is hopefully do as good as the written word was, which is phenomenal in this case. And then to get to do something that there was zero expectations is just so much more fun.
Which is like, I find with you, I feel like I love playing with you, and I call it like play, where it's like we get to really like ping pong or whatever. And like, that's part of my favorite thing in doing comedy is having your sort of comedy comrades and being able to kind of like riff on something and both know that we're playing the same game.
Yes. So you met Liz, and then you guys wrote Bless This Mess together, and then you directed the pilot, and then you'll direct the next episode, or first episode back.
Yeah, and then you're going to direct one this season.
Okay, great. And I'm going to do that. And then probably most exciting for everyone in the listening audience is that Miniature Mouse was on
Yes.
Bless This Mess.
Yeah.
In a role she was
People
born to play.
Really loved you on there.
Well, they like me yelling at him.
Yeah,
in general,
it's satisfying.
so,
It's very satisfying.
Yeah, it is.
I think, look, I mean, I think we have a great comedy team on the show. We have a lot of like good guest starry.
The Ed and Pam storyline is just like kind of endlessly endearing and
I know.
hysterical.
He slays me.
My favorite line of the whole season last year was, "She makes me feel like I'm dead, something you could never do." When he sees his ex-wife.
Wait, amazing Ed Begley Jr. That sounded like he was in the room.
It did. It's really good.
Yeah, no, when you were talking about like one-liners that slay, on the show, I'm like, it's usually Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, his one-liners are remarkable. Yeah.
You're married, I'm married. What does Scott feel about when you have love scenes and all that kind of stuff?
I think since I got married, what jobs I say yes to, what I feel like comes to has shifted. I think it's a mix of me and him being sensitive to it. He's not in the industry. He's not an actor. You're married to an actor, so you both can like, understand what it is, both do it and kind of understand you can walk away from it. So it's like you have a space and a frame of reference. While, if you're married to someone who doesn't have that experience, I think it's harder to take it on. If I put myself in Scott's position and he had to like, go to work and make out, I feel like if we were both actors, we both understand what it is. It's almost like safer that way.
Well, I got to tell you, I have on numerous occasions been rooting for Kristen to kiss the guy.
I know you.
Like, I love it. Like her and Chidi, their storyline is so cute. I'm like, be together, kiss him.
No, but what if you didn't do that?
Yeah, it would be
Like,
I would feel like I deserve to do that.
Right.
Yes.
So,
I would, because I have a strong
that's
sense
why
of justice.
I'm trying to figure it out because I think when I was, single and taking on jobs and things, I didn't give a shit. I was like, I'll be naked. I'll like make out. It's fun. It's whatever. I don't give a shit. I'll use my tongue. Like, I'll make it look real. It's different than being on stage. Like in a play, you kiss, you do it 100 million times. It's much more presentational versus like in movies and TV. It's really happening, right?
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to feel like you're in love with someone and the camera is right there. Okay.
Yes.
So there's no excuse to be like, well, actually, I'm actually married and in a relationship.
Yeah, get another job.
Yeah, it's a different job. So you're like, and I never want to look like I'm not kicking ass at my job.
Sure.
So part of that is making it look like we are in love.
Yes, sure.
So I think within the relationship, I'm not excited to take on a job and I would feel like I have to talk to him, figure out something if
he's about you falling in love,
falling in love with someone, like just licking their torso and
sure, like body shots, whatever things people are doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that would be really hard. But then I'm like, oh my God, does that mean, and we talk about this all the time, because we're pretty open about talking about that, where I'm like, I feel conflicted. Some days he's kind of like, I don't know what your problem is. Like, fucking please go and like make a movie with Joe Twinklebutt and like do that.
Sure.
And I'm like, I don't know if I believe it, whether if that's real. I'm like, really? There's an intimacy, as I said in the beginning, that with tattooing, it's a completely different thing. But, he's tattooed some of the most beautiful models and actors and enigmatic, amazing, beautiful, incredible creatures and women in this.
Yeah. And it's a very intimate experience.
And it's intimate. It's on their fucking tit. And it's like sexy, hot shit.
Yeah.
Like when I first met him, he like drew a tattoo on me by my pelvis,
just to get things going.
And it was like the hottest thing ever. Now that's also two people who were like clearly like hot for each other underneath the surface. It was very good. And the point is like, you know, so I know how intimate that is. So there is an intimate experience that he's doing that I have no understanding of.
Right.
But it's not the same, obviously, as like being naked with someone and simulating not only just sex, but like love.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and like, you know, I really, unfortunately, I guess it's almost like scary, I think, to him sometimes that I can compartmentalize that so well.
Sure. But I
Like,
think everyone can compartmentalize.
I think they can, yes. But I think that it's almost like unnerving to think that I can very successfully be on a set and like gaze into someone's eyes and really feel like in that moment within the world that we've created in this fake vortex, in that vortex, I'm kicking ass at acting right now and making it all look like I'm in love with them.
Sure,
and
sure.
in the moment, it feels like tingly like love.
Yeah, it's like sense memory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then cut, you know, and it might take me a second to come out, but then it's fucking gone. So I think that maybe is fucked up to think about. Like, I don't know.
I don't. Again, my wife does it.
Your wife does it.
Yeah,
you have an
I'm
understanding
fine with
of what it is.
Yeah, and I'm totally fine
But
with it.
she's saying, because he doesn't do that every day, and isn't practiced.
Yes,
that
It's like fear.
but I'm
how
only.
can you do that? And if you can do that, then can you do like maybe there's a fear of like,
Interesting. Yeah.
For sure. I'm only trying to articulate how, by the simple dynamic that I do the same thing, that it takes that away. You know, I don't think I'm a sociopath because I can code switch.
The way that you and Kristen kind of talk about, oh, you know, honey, go for it. Like, I hope you make out with that guy. He's hot, in fact. I think he's hot. Like, go for it. Like, that's interesting and I think unique. I just think you have a security in your play with it.
Look, yes, in my top 10 things I want from her, fidelity's low on the list. There's a lot of things I want before fidelity.
That's really
I would way rather her be kind and generous and listen to me and meet my needs. I have more like a pragmatic, immediate desires from her. And what's happening right now while she's on set is I'm not too concerned about.
So I think that's really compelling. Like, I think it's interesting and unique because I think in relationships we get so, and I'm interested in the subject of fidelity because, you know, I do until I don't. I really like delved in, and with my sister Josie, who's polyamorous, I feel like it's really interesting to sort of unpack what all that is, like the ego of that and the kind of obsession of, you know, especially being somebody who out of the gate said, I don't know if I believe in this whole marriage thing.
Right. I'm very pleased with the conclusion being monogamy's the way. But I am not someone that can hear that from my grandparents and assume that that I'm not entitled to raise my hand 85 times on the topic. You know, it's like, this is a very bizarre.
I agree that, like, for me, monogamy, I now understand it and I respect it as a modern woman, not as like, I don't feel archaic and I'm not judging myself that I'm sort of this like dinosaur that I still believe in like monogamy. Like, I think I'm like, I really see the merit and I think like Scott and I are kicking ass and like really taking on life. And by the way, the terms can always change. You know what I mean?
I think it's naive for people to think you will meet the one and then there will be a valve will shut off in your head. And that's the last time you'll have to think about it. And I think it's not honest to say that, no, you will have desires as long as you're on planet Earth.
I have a friend who's married for over 20 years and she's one of my best friends in the world. And she said to me recently, just in her own life, she was like, it's really important in my marriage to have very attractive people, attractive to me, people that spark a little something in my body.
Sure.
That
wake you up.
Yeah, to wake you up.
Yeah.
And that are not my husband.
Right.
And she's like, I don't want to literally fuck them. I just like having them around in my space and to flirt with my husband, to flirt with me. I like seeing it. I like feeling it. It's just a little texture in
a little
space.
zhuzh.
This is like 20 years marriage. Okay.
Yeah.
It is an additive to remind my body still has little sparks. And then I can take that to my husband.
Right. Take that straight to the missionary position.
Well,
in my marital bed.
I mean, whatever you need to do. You know what I mean? Or you can jerk off together or whatever.
Sure.
Like the point is, I always say the terms always change. And I always say that like with relationships with my family members, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, and my husband, it's like you can never be fully rigid. And I think the big problem, like you were saying, is like you find the one and then you're together and that's it.
All good. And then if it's not all good, you feel
You're
like a
fucked.
failure and shame-ridden and all this stuff.
No, but you have to be like movable, like within the relationship, whether it's parenting, whether it's sexuality, you know. And I'm not an expert. I'm just like learning, and this is like I'm saying this is how I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's fun. It's endless, and it'll become things you never guessed, and you'll end up places you're grateful you're at.
Yeah,
and then
talk in 10 years, and let's see where we are.
Let's meet again in 10 years. So, do you know the date off the top? Get this. When do we premiere?
24th?
September 24th, and we're now on at 8:30.
We're on 8:30, and
8:30.
what's interesting about that is like
8:30 on ABC. Yes.
Yeah, it's like a really. They said it's a very coveted spot.
Oh, I love
Tuesday
coveted
nights,
spots.
8:30
spot.
after the Connors.
Oh,
yeah, that's great.
wonderful.
We've got some hilarity coming up.
I'm looking forward to getting back there and doing all that. It's a very, very fun job. The elements will be working against us, but we will persevere.
We will. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to think of like some creative solutions on that.
Yes.
It's gonna be
so we're gonna
120 degrees.
it's gonna be 120 for 3
Yeah.
months, and we shoot almost exclusively outdoors.
Oh boy.
And the pilot was forged in us. We had one day where we were on the roof most of the day, and it was 105. And then we had a rain scene at like 10 o'clock at night, and it had somehow magically dropped to 39 degrees.
was-
You
what
couldn't
was-
physically, you couldn't talk. Like we did two
We were like,
takes, and then Lake was like, sorry, I'm at the
You
limit
might have
of.
called cut at that point. I was directing, but I was like, and he's like, for medical reasons, I need to call cut. Yeah.
She would like to call cut, but I don't think she can form the word cut right now because she's shaking so much.
Yeah.
Well, what a pleasure to have you in here. It's
Thank
so
you,
fun to talk
Brendan.
to you as always, and we'll get to do that for the next 3 months. We'll paint vivid pictures of different crew members and what they're doing in their
can't wait.
extracurricular activity. Love you, and I'll
Love you.
see you soon in the workplace.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
I've been stumbling out of bars and crashing on my cars and trying to get the facts with you. I'll check the facts with you.
That song's in my head as well.
Well, because we just heard it on the ride over.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah. In the middle of you, well, how do we say it? Verbally assaulting me the whole ride. Okay.
Go on.
Apparently I have a real bullseye on my back because you were vocally unimpressed with me pumping up the brakes as we exited the driveway.
Oh, trying to make me puke is what I would say. I said, you know what? I don't like that.
Yeah,
I said it very nicely.
I was doing, a routine brake check before, for safety for
yeah,
us.
for safety,
to
sure.
stab it about 20 times with my foot.
Yeah.
My right foot, my more powerful foot. No, my left foot. That's the clutch foot. I'm sorry. You said, I don't care about my safety.
It's not what I said.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then tell me what you said.
I said, hey, I don't like that. That's exactly what I said.
That is.
And it's the truth.
And then I stopped it.
It was jerky, both literally and metaphorically.
Well, I was warning you before we even started. They accidentally put too much performance in this van. Mm-hmm. It's some kind of anomaly off the production line.
Sure.
It's been packed with too much power.
That's a nice analogy for you.
And what is it for you? How would you describe it?
What?
Huh? Oh, you're saying that the too much power is a metaphor for me.
Yeah.
So too much
That is
zip
what
in
I
my
just
step.
said. Yeah. Is jerky, like someone who's being jerky like you were, and you were being jerky, is that what it comes from? Like someone who's like jerking you around?
First of all, you're not allowed to say jerky anymore.
Yes, you are.
No. You think you can say jerky? It's because the people from Jericho were infamously aggressive in their dealings with Byzantine traders. And so it's very problematic. And it is a pejorative to people from Jericho. So no, you cannot say jerk or jerky anymore. Even if you
How
are.
are we going to have this? We can't even go 1 second
It's because I love you and I'm trying to,
Jerk me around.
get you to giggle, maybe fart.
Well, good luck with that. That's not happening. Listen, is that right?
Is being a jerk, does it stem from being jerked
like
around?
physically jerked.
I don't know.
I wonder if that really does have to do with slavery.
Oh, Jesus.
What? For
Well,
real?
hold on.
For real.
Hold on. I was joking and now you're serious.
Well, you took it there and it's maybe right.
What did that just remind me? Oh, we've now heard 3 and or 4 compelling origin stories for the expression break a leg.
Oh, yeah, we have.
We just heard a brand new one from Jess. Did you hear his?
No.
His is silly because it doesn't make any sense for show night. So he was saying break a leg means break a leg so that you end up in a cast.
Oh, for an audition,
Right,
yes.
right. So that you end up in a cast.
I like that.
It makes logical sense, but it makes no sense because the majority of the time people say break a leg is on show night. You're already in the cast.
That's true.
Yeah.
So what are the other ones?
Well, the 2 I had known is that, this is my favorite, that when John Wilkes Booth shot Abe Lincoln, he then jumped off the mezzanine level or whatever that second tier was called, landed on the stage. For non-history buffs, John Wilkes Booth was like the Brad Pitt of his day. He was the most famous actor in America, and he knew that theater inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
So he leapt off, and when he hit the stage, he broke his leg.
Yep.
And they say it's the best exit in theater history.
Yes.
I like that one because, it's got assassination, it's got history.
Sexy men.
Sexual men that were popular movie stars, but there weren't movies yet.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one I heard was that the ropes on either side of the stage that raise and lower the curtain, that's called a leg.
Yep.
And so you would be doing so many bows and standing ovations that they'd have to keep raising and lowering the curtain, and it would break the legs.
Dave
break
Koechner
a leg.
told us that,
No,
right?
so Koechner hit us with a 4th one.
Oh.
Which was in Shakespearean time. People were like in and out of the play. Just rabble-rousers would stop by, and if the play was no good, they'd fucking check out. A lot of walkouts.
Right. Groundlings.
The groundlings, yeah. The riffraff, the losers, the scumbags, the undesirables, the Jerichokians. Jerks. If the play was so good that it would hold everyone's attention till you got to the moment where you could bow, and then the way they bowed back then was you bent the back leg. You broke the leg. So may you break a leg. May the audience stay tuned long enough for you to take that bow.
Right.
Also makes sense.
Yeah, all of these are
3 of the 4
options.
are plausible.
I like Jess's.
It's clever, but it's certainly not the origin.
Yeah.
We can rule that one
Yeah,
out.
that's probably true.
Yeah, that's extraneous.
It's okay. It doesn't have to be the first one.
No. And I bet we will hear a 5th and a 6th.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that some of these things perhaps are unknowable because when I type in what's the origin of break a leg, I get all those stories.
Yep, exactly.
I don't know who to trust.
Not.org.
If it were .gov, I would trust it.
Yeah, me too.
We still have faith in .gov,
I don't
right?
know anymore.
You're on the fence about
I'm on the
.gov?
fence now.
God, I trust .gov.
With our current .gov, I have to be on the fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing much internet oversight.
I can't know about that. I don't know. Anyway, maybe someone can tell us about jerk. I think I'm right.
That it's from jerking around. Don't be a jerk. I feel like then you would say, don't be a jerker.
They shortened it.
Do you think anyone that's given a hand job could be referred to clinically and technically as a jerk?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, so every man in America is a jerk because he's definitely given himself a hand job.
Oh.
He's given it a jerk,
sure.
a pull, a tug.
And many women.
Yeah, but you're not jerking, pulling, and tugging so much as manipulating, massaging, fiddling, and flicking.
Okay. Why is what the girl is doing different than what the guy is doing?
Because you're physically jerking your penis.
Well, that's happening with the girl's doing that too.
She's jerking her labia?
No, she's jerking you.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying all women who've masturbated. And I'm like, I wouldn't describe that activity as jerking.
No.
No, that's, again, back to manipulation,
We're not on the
fiddling.
same page today.
We're not, but it could be fun for the audience.
Or horrifying.
And I got a hunch we're going to land on the same page.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about a woman giving a hand job.
Right, giving a jerk. You know what the thing is? I have ultimate optimism in our friendship.
Oh, you do?
I do. I
That's
absolutely think we're the cats of friends and that we will land on our feet.
The cats of Friends.
The cast of Friends.
Yeah.
Because you'll end up in the cast of Friends.
Oh my God. Speaking of, they're doing a line at Pottery Barn, a Friends line to commemorate the 25th anniversary.
Of the debut?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a big episode of Friends where Rachel buys a apothecary table from Pottery Barn, but she lives with Phoebe, and Ross comes over and he says she is going to hate that. She only likes things that are one of a kind. You can have that. So then she comes in and Rachel has to lie to her. She says she got it at a flea market.
Oh, okay.
And then she keeps buying things from Pottery Barn, but then saying that they're from flea markets.
Oh, that's a good
It's
story.
really funny.
And they put Pottery Barn on the map, probably? in
Yeah,
some
I don't.
national-
Pottery Barn was just a little known.
A backwater
That's
furniture
right.
store.
That's right. And now it's burgeoning.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's at the top of the hill.
So they're sending their thanks, and they're going to do a line of Friends things. So I have to buy all of those things, and one of them,
All the
I think,
furniture?
is an apothecary
Oh,
table.
wow. Are you going to have room for that?
I don't
Or you
care.
have to move something out?
I'll have to move to another house.
I don't know what an apothecary table is.
It was a coffee table, but
Oh.
it was an apothecary is a pharmacist. This is
Right.
all in the episode.
Yeah, I knew the pharmacist part because the C.O. Bigelow in New York is still called an apothecary, and they have all kinds of fun products in there.
Is that
Nice
your-
candles.
Oh,
and
you like
stuff.
that store?
I do, weirdly.
Oh, wow.
And it's not my kind of store,
This
but
is
I like
odd.
it. Well, it was very retro before retro. You know, you feel like you're stepping back into the teens,
Sure.
1915 or
The
something.
visuals.
Yeah, and like the marble tables and shit. I guess those are apothecary tables. I don't know.
Well.
Okay, I'm stretching the truth a little bit, maybe.
C.O. Bigelow.
You know,
wow.
you're into that store, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I like their lip gloss.
And their design, right? It's a neat.
Their design is cute.
Yeah, it looks medicinal from the turn of the century. Like something that John D. Rockefeller would have put on his lips while he was riding his horse.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you know John D. Rockefeller was really into racing his horses in Manhattan?
Oh.
Yeah, and he got hurt a couple times real bad,
Oh.
getting a little carried away, and got it too into the race in his his later stages of his life.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to be you?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Not on horseback, but the modern
Horsepower.
horse-powered.
Yeah.
On the back of some horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think of my celebrity cologne.
Oh, yeah. What's your celebrity cologne?
Horsepower. Feel the power.
Oh. Jeez. Okay.
All right.
So we had Lake on. Your
Lake?
co-star Lake.
Like Belle, my TV wife.
You have two Belle wives.
I do. It's very weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wish we had a statistician on the staff that could figure out what the probability of that was. Well, it's so complicated. First, you have to figure out the odds of getting on a TV show. I don't know what those are.
Yeah. Very low.
Less than 1 in 100, I'd imagine.
Very low.
And that you would marry someone with the last name Bell. Okay, that's going to be
Also very
1 in
low.
1,000,
Uh-huh.
10,000. And you're going to multiply those two numbers together. And then you're going to multiply. Then what are the odds of your co-star being last name?
Oof. I mean, this is a 0.00.
We're in the trillion to one, probably.
zeros. Yeah. It's very exciting.
It
It's
is.
very exclusive.
Yeah. Well, I always say this. It's so rare in life that you could possibly do anything that someone else hasn't done. Almost impossible. You can't say something original. And maybe I'm the first person to be married to a Belle and then married to a Belle.
Oh my
on
God.
TV.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I'll put that on my headstone. Here lies a guy who's married to a Belle in fake life and real life.
Yeah, I will. Okay, so Lake. So at the beginning, we're talking about smells, musks,
Mm-hmm.
smells. Have I already said on this podcast that I can smell everyone?
You mean like all the guests
Yeah.
or everyone in the room?
All the guests on the couch.
Oh, okay.
I can smell them all.
And it's generally pleasant.
Yeah. I mean, no one smells bad.
Okay, there we go.
No one smells bad.
Great.
But it is interesting, different pheromones.
Mm-hmm.
And some people smell.
Intoxicating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, the goal is they don't really have that much of a smell,
Oh, okay.
you know?
Uh-huh.
Lake did not have a smell to me.
No smell.
No. And I was like, oh, I like that.
Oh, that's okay. So I
It was
just
a
don't know what
positive.
that, like what the desired thing
There's
is.
a lot of positives. No smell,
Mhm.
a good smell.
Yeah.
Probably the only negative thing would be a bad smell, which there hasn't been.
But again, that is really subjective, right? Because
Totally subjective.
if you're really attracted to somebody and you smell like a hint of their BO, it can make you horny.
Oh, okay. I don't think I'm being clear. So when I'm talking about smells, I don't mean like their BO. No one has had BO,
Okay, unfortunately.
but people have a smell to them.
Sure, yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
that is pheromone. So I don't think you can be attracted to someone and dislike their general smell. Do you?
But it'd be hard, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the LeBeaus, my mom's family, they all have the exact same smell. And always, I can smell it the most in the morning. So, like, when I walk into my mom's bedroom in the morning, it's same as when I'd walk into my Uncle Rob's bedroom in the morning.
Same smell.
Exact same family smell.
Yeah. Do you have it?
I don't think I have it, no.
Interesting. But
And Carly doesn't have it.
yeah, she does not have a smell.
No. No, she smells great in the absence of any smell. Even a bit of a freshness.
I don't smell anything coming off your mom.
No. You'd have to walk into her bedroom in the morning after she's been
Okay.
sleeping.
I'm gonna
there.
next time.
You should.
Okay.
You'll definitely. So it's not bad. It's just specifically her smell.
Yeah, I do think my mom has a smell.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think my dad necessarily. I couldn't like pinpoint the smell.
Now,
for my
here's an
dad.
interesting question. I wonder if I can smell my mom really well, and you wouldn't be able to.
I know.
Evolutionarily,
I know.
you need to imprint that smell so you can find mom.
I know. I wonder. We'll have to test.
I'm going to
it.
smell your mom's going to wake up one morning in Georgia, and I'm going to be right above her going, nope. No, I'm going to, no, I'm not. Whoa, hold on. No, it's nothing. And she's going to be like, what is going on?
Yeah. The morning, is that fair in the morning after people have been kind of like
Ruminating in their
sweaty
own
and-
capsule.
yeah.
I think that's
and
when
their
it's
mouth stinks.
Sure. Well, yeah. It's never a bad breath smell. That's not what I'm smelling.
I know, but you know what I mean. You're
I
just
do.
like kind of dead for
You died
some time.
for 8 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not drinking any water in that 8 hours. and
Yeah.
yeah.
So it might not be a fair time to be testing people's smells.
But I think
Or maybe
that's,
it's the most
I think it's the
fair.
peak. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Before they've altered their smells with contaminants,
Ugh. Yeah.
tea, coussants.
Pheromones are fascinating
They sure are.
because there are people that I think are attractive, but I'm not crazy about their smell.
Their odor.
But again, not because they have it's worse. If they just had BO, I'd be like, great, there's something we can do about this.
Well, I think we've talked about this. One of the leading theories on the reason brothers and sisters aren't attracted to each other is that you imprint their olfactory smell.
Right.
And then anyone you're around a ton in your childhood, and then that your brain will forever not like that pheromone sexually,
Yeah.
which is fascinating. And that's why some of these weird couples where they're reunited, they never imprinted each other's smells and they're
Right.
attracted to each other.
Right.
So weird.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Norma. Sorry. I'm just no. This has nothing to do with you. This is about Monica and I have
This
like
is
a
science.
No, it's fine. No. No. Go back. Everyone, go back to sleep. Everything is totally fine.
Anyway, okay, so you talked about putting the sheet in front of the musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past several decades, orchestras have started changing the way they hire musicians. One of these changes was designed to eliminate bias against women. It would be hard to deny that there was such a bias in the composition of orchestras. As late as 1970, the top 5 orchestras in the U.S. had fewer than 5% women.
Oops.
It wasn't until 1980 that any of these top orchestras had 10% female musicians. By 1997, they were up to 25, and today some are well into the 30s.
Mm.
In the 70s and 80s, orchestras began using blind auditions. Candidates are situated at a stage behind a screen to play for a jury that cannot see them. In some orchestras, blind auditions are used just for the preliminary selection, while others use it all the way to the end until a hiring decision is made.
Mm.
Even a screen doesn't always yield a gender-blind event. Screens can keep juries from seeing the candidates move into position, but the telltale sounds of a woman's shoes allegedly influenced some jury members such that aspiring musicians were instructed to remove their footwear before coming onto the stage.
You know what
Not
song that
interesting.
makes me think of immediately?
What? Oh,
This is what it sounded like when this dude walked. Ding, 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 ding. Petite feet, feminine step.
oh, that's a Tim and Eric.
Tim and Eric sketch. It's one of the best.
Oh, so funny.
Guy comes into a cowboy bar and he's wearing high heels for whatever reason.
Oh, man. Okay, even when the screen is only used for the preliminary round, it has a powerful impact. Researchers have determined that this step alone makes it 50% more likely that a woman will advance to the finals.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that they,
Took a step.
yeah,
Me too.
a feminine step.
Petite feet, feminine step.
Okay, so we talk a lot about tattoos.
Of course, because of
Tattoos.
Scott.
Yeah, I was fascinated by all of that.
Yeah.
And I want to go to his glory hole thing.
And
Whole
get-
glory, excuse me.
And get a tattoo?
Well, I guess I would have to if I was doing that. I am so on the fence about tattoos.
Tell me.
I mean, I want one
Mm-hmm.
badly. Not
Yeah.
badly, but I want one.
Yeah.
I go back and forth. I've had ideas in the past, and then I'm glad I didn't get that.
Right.
So then I feel like, ooh, I just probably should stay away from that.
You know, I have a very outmoded, I guess, misogynistic view of tattoos,
Yeah.
which is I think women are beautiful and need no adornment or decoration. And
Right.
men are pieces of shit and they might as well scribble on themselves.
Yeah, except that you don't because you love men's bodies.
I do.
So
especially if they're
It doesn't hold up exactly.
tattooed up, though. Like Charlie Perfect 10,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think those are additive. I think it ups his sex appeal and the overall, appeal of his body.
I agree. I mean, it would still be a 10
Beautiful.
without it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I used to not like tattoos. Like, I
Mhm.
didn't think that was sexy.
Right. Like the message it was sending. It's like, what is
Like,
this
I'm
message?
bad. Like, oh, you got to be bad.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do now, maybe because I don't associate it with being bad. Maybe because I know a lot of people with tattoos and I don't think that that's what they're trying to do with them.
Well, what's funny? I'm going to make a scary comparison that I'll end up in hot water over. But what's funny is it's very easy to have compassion for strippers. You go, oh, that stripper probably is dealing with some trauma. We have the statistics. It's
Yeah.
in the 80s or 90s or whatever.
Rough.
So you immediately look at that choice and you have compassion for it. You're not like judgmental of like, oh, look at these hoary sluts that are shaking their ass for money.
Well,
you don't
some people do that.
Well, some, yeah, sure. But in general, you don't. You don't personally.
I don't. Yeah.
But so often the tattoos are, these attempts for guys to reclaim masculinity that was often stolen from them. That's, I think, a real high percentage of people that are getting tattoos are trying to send an outward signal, don't mess with me.
You're right.
Yeah. So in that, like when you view it under that lens, you're like, you can have some compassion, even when they're douchey as hell, I
Yeah.
try to remind myself, like, you know what, that guy was either fucking bullied by a parent or molested or whatever, and he wants to tell the world, I'm a dangerous snake, stand back.
Yeah. I also think you can have that mentality without the trauma.
Oh,
That
sure.
like this is
totally.
something that elicits this reaction, so I'm going to do that.
And there's different versions, right? There's guys that have like kind of very artful tattoos.
Yeah.
Like your kind of guys with the glasses and the cool beard and the sleeves.
Uh-huh.
That's a different look than like the Jersey Shore version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. But in both of those scenarios, though, with
Mm-hmm.
the stripper and with the guy who gets the tattoo so that he can come off extra tough,
Mm-hmm.
I can have compassion, and I wish that wasn't a choice that they made.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? Like, I'm
Mhm.
sad that is the choice
Right. Yeah.
because it's not going to get you the thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, I just don't feel that anymore about tattoos. Not everyone who has a tattoo is trying to be bad.
Well, there's also been a big evolution in the type of people who got tattoos. I mean,
Yeah.
in the 40s, the only people that had tattoos were like you were in the Navy or you were a Hell's Angel. It was really an antisocial message.
Yeah.
And I just think more and more they've become normal. Like I always say, I
Yeah.
probably have the least amount of tattoos of the dads at the preschool
Yeah.
kids go to.
Well, not the least.
But,
But you're-
most of the dads are pretty
Tattooed.
covered.
Yeah.
And none of them are in biker gangs or
Nope.
starred in the movie Outhouse. No, Roadhouse.
Outhouse.
I wish the Wayne brothers would make a spoof of Roadhouse called Outhouse. But now you think you might want one.
Well,
hers are really pretty legs, and they're neatly symmetrical.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he did a very great job at making them. You know, I love things that are symmetrical.
Sure,
Yeah.
44.
44, yeah. I was just thinking, so I have 4 tattoos, and I didn't like it when I had 3.
Oh.
I was uneasy about that.
So if you'll have to get 2 more if you get more.
Yep. If I wasn't an actor, I would be covered. Yeah, there's a bunch I want. I've wanted some for 15 years that I haven't gotten.
Like what?
I want a connecting rod and a piston really bad on my...
What's that mean?
in an engine, the thing that's actually producing the power, which is universal to all internal combustion engines, is the piston and the connecting rod.
Oh, that's cool.
Now that I said it out loud, boy, if I bump into someone that has it, I'm going to be sad. But I'm sure people already have it.
It's
Okay,
still
well, I'm
your
over it. I just
idea.
worked through it. Okay. But yeah, I really want that.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
I also have wanted a bird really bad, but I really wanted an owl about 12 years ago.
Why did you want an owl?
I just think their faces, you can just stare at them forever. They're incredible.
Oh, interesting.
Those eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like those a lot.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that was purely aesthetic.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, everything's aesthetic for me. I have
not
no
the car thing.
no meanings
That's
behind.
meaningful.
Well, I guess you're right. Yeah. Yeah. The original car tattoo that I always loved a ton was Travis, the drummer from Blink-182, had the big Cadillac symbol in his chest. And I remember loving that. You don't like it.
I'm
Yeah.
not crazy about
You're not
that.
wild about it.
No.
But I liked it, yeah. Mostly, I will say one thing about tattoos before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
People always worry about like, oh, well, they want it for life.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. If you could trick yourself into this thought process, it's kind of why drinking gets easier to quit when you're not quitting for the month of January. Because you're counting down the days till it ends.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, well, I made it 4 weeks. Maybe it was 4 weeks and not the whole month because now it's on a Saturday. Whatever. When you really go like, oh, I'm never drinking again for the rest of my life, for me, doing a lot of other work, I don't think about it ever again. There's no point at which I'm going to drink again. So it's
Right.
never on my mind. The tattoo, once it's on you, it's like, that's there. That's for
Right.
good. Done thinking about it.
That's
It's
true.
permanent. There's
Except
something...
you could remove it. So there is this element.
Or cover it. I covered one.
Yeah. If you decide like, oh my God, I really wish I didn't have a tattoo. I don't want a tattoo anymore. You could remove it.
You could,
It's really
yeah,
hard,
yeah.
though, right?
And also kind of ends up looking, I think,
Weird.
sometimes weirder than the
Like
tattoo.
a bruise.
Yeah, like let's just say that if I were to start over today, I probably wouldn't get my 4 stars and I probably wouldn't get my flags.
Really?
Just aesthetically, that's not where I'm at in my life anymore. I would get pretty things like this cherry blossom tree that I
Yeah.
liked.
Yeah.
And I think I'd go all pretty mixed messages.
Mixed messages.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I like the bell and I like the cherry blossom in my current aesthetic.
Right.
But I don't even think about those stars or the back because they're there.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
They really quickly become a part of your body that you don't contemplate whether you want to remove your ring finger or not.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, yeah, it's true. Even with people who I'm around a lot who have tattoos, I don't like when you talk about Charlie's tattoos, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's tattoos. I don't even think about that or see it really. It's not something every time you see it, you're like, oh, yeah, tattoos.
Right. Yes.
It's just a part of it. Interesting. I'm going to get one.
Oh, okay.
So, transitioning to a sadder topic.
Okay.
She was telling us the
About Ozzy.
traumatic story.
Yeah.
Yeah, her little baby. And she was talking about the cold bed.
Mm-hmm.
So, a 2009 study of more than 300 newborns showed cooling treatment known as therapeutic hypothermia could help reduce brain damage. Researchers think the therapy works by slowing the production of harmful substances in the brain and the rate of brain cell death. Led by the National Perinatal, this must be UK. Led by the National Perinatal Epidemiology Unit at the
Well,
University
really quick,
of Oxford.
doesn't para just mean after birth instead of before prenatal, perinatal?
Oh, maybe.
I think.
Oh, yeah, probably. That makes sense. Led by the National Perinatal Epidemiology Unit at the University of Oxford and Imperial College London, a team of scientists revisited these children at 6 or 7 years of age. They examined the children's IQ scores, memory power, attention spans, signs of disability. Children who had been cooled as babies were less likely than those who had received standard treatment to have neurological abnormalities and perform better in tests of manual ability. About 45% of cooled children had no brain abnormalities compared with 28% of those who had standard treatment. So,
Big diff.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a very scary story. I will say this. I was thinking about saying it while she was talking about it, but I was like, no, that's just, you're making that story about you. But what I now want to share after the fact is hundreds of different occasions I've come to know somebody who's gone through an experience that I previously was judgmental of. Or like me doing the Indian accent. I did it in a movie, for Christ's sake. Never occurred to me anyone would care. Came to know you, realize how hurtful that could be. No, I don't do it anymore. I made a lot of jokes about people that did home births. I would say like, oh, when they go to the hospital, they arrive on horseback. Like, what's all this fetishizing the 1800s or something, you know? And I think I even maybe had made a similar joke to her before knowing the whole experience. And I'm glad I've come to know and respect somebody who's done that and had that experience. And it's not for me, but also I can see the exact same intention I have, which is just trying to make this beginning for this thing you care about as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's nice.
I do think ultimately if you had been friends with every type of person in the world, there would really be no things.
I
You'd just be
know.
like, oh, yeah, okay.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, that's good. That's a good learning.
Yeah, yeah.
lesson.
I think I had apologized that I had made some kind of joke around her, not really thinking about how sensitive that is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. How old was Lake on ER? I used to love ER, by the way.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I loved it.
That makes sense. You loved popular television is what you liked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Despite your perversion for exclusive stuff, you liked broadly
True.
appealing.
And I like them all. I like all kinds of regular stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
She was in 2 episodes in 2002. That was season 9. And Don Cheadle was in one of those episodes.
Oh, my goodness.
Isn't that cool?
Jeez.
He was in 4 episodes, and one of them overlapped with Lake's. ER ran 15 seasons.
And generated, like, I guess, over $1 billion for that John Wells guy. That's the rumor around town. Yeah.
Yeah. And Grey's Anatomy.
Still going, right?
Yes, it's about to be in its 16th season.
Wow. Well done.
These
Grace.
medical dramas,
Yeah.
they last. We should start one of those.
Okay. Yeah. Although, can you say all the technical jargon?
Yeah.
I'll be more of like the Dr. House, like irreverent.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys were talking about her dad in the VIR track, but people don't know.
Virginia International Raceway?
Yeah. Located in Alton, Virginia.
It was located in New Mexico.
It's funny, on Wikipedia it says Alton, Virginia, near Danville. Like people know where Danville is.
Thanks. I mean, no disrespect to anyone living in
No,
Danville.
we
It's a
love
great
Danville,
place, yeah.
but
Top 10 place to live in America, but still.
people don't know where that is.
No.
It's less than a half mile from the North Carolina-Virginia border, just outside Milton, North Carolina, on the banks of the Dan River.
Boy, that is a beautiful neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Where North Carolina and Virginia meet up.
Very green.
Yes, so green.
Stuckies.
Oh.
I learned a lot about Stuckies.
Oh, good. You know, we did a lot of family road trips. And so we saw Stuckies at every. And I've never eaten at a Stuckies, but it was the punchline to all of our road jokes.
Oh,
My
like
mom
you're
and my
gonna
brother and I, it would be the worst place you could eat is
Oh,
Stuckies. Yeah, my mom would be like, want me to pull off here at Stuckies? And we would laugh.
Oh my God, it rhymes with Buc-ee's.
It does.
Okay, buckle up.
Okay.
Stuckies is a roadside convenience store chain found on highways throughout the United States. Stores are concentrated in the Southeast, Southwest, and Midwest, although operations have existed as far east as Connecticut and as far west as Oregon. Stuckies Corporation, the company operating the chains, has its headquarters in Eastman, Georgia. Stuckies originated in the early 1930s.
Wow.
Yeah, in Eastman, Georgia, when founder W.S. Stuckey Sr.
Oh, boy. W.S. Stuckey Sr.
had a successful pecan harvest. Do you say pecan or pecan?
Pecan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pecan harvest. From his family's orchard, he decided to offer a portion of the crop for sale in a lean-to roadside shed. Many Florida-bound tourists traveling U.S. Route 23 stopped to purchase the pecans. As the roadside business continued to expand, Stuckey's wife, Ethel, created a variety of homemade pecan candies to sell at the stand, including pecan log rolls and pecan divinity.
Ooh.
I know.
Pecan Sacrament?
Yeah. In 1937, Stuckey constructed his first store building. Much like the former roadside lean-to, the new business focused on selling these southern candies to highway travelers. The first Stuckey shop added a restaurant, then a novelty section, and then gas pumps. The final addition was a teal blue roof, which would later become the company's trademark. Until the onset of World War II, Stuckey's continued to open stores in Georgia and Florida. The number of stores declined somewhat during World War II due to the effects of wartime sugar rationing.
Oh.
After World War II ended, the Stuckey's business once again began to grow, and it sold a number of new franchises. The company constructed a candy factory to supply an eventual 350-plus Stuckey's stores located throughout the continental U.S. As the post-war baby boom flourished and families undertook more long-distance auto travel, Stuckey's continue to grow. They were frequently paired with Texaco gas stations as well as restaurants and clean restrooms. The company...
No thanks. I like mine dirty.
The company at its peak had over 350 locations, which dwindled to a fewer than 75 after a decline in the 1970s. It was repurchased by former Congressman W.S. Stuckey Jr. in 1985. As of May 2015, Stuckey has over 115 franchise stores in 17 states.
Well, now I feel bad about saying. I thought it was long gone, and I don't
Still
want to talk
around.
disparagingly about anyone who's running a business franchise of Stuckey's.
Well, we did.
Okay,
But
well, I take it back.
we take it back, and we hope people
I said
go
too,
there.
I've never even eaten there. It just was a punchline
It
to
could
our.
be tasty.
Clearly, with that long run of success, it must be
It's
delicious.
had some ups and downs.
While you were talking about the clean bathrooms, it reminded me of two of my favorite pieces of graffiti I ever saw in a bathroom.
Oh.
One was there was a condom machine in Colorado at a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you put like 50 cents in and a rubber comes out.
Sure.
And someone wrote on there, "Don't buy this gum. It tastes like rubber." And then another one when the seat covers first came out, you know, the little tissue paper covers you can put over the commode.
Yeah.
Someone wrote on that one, free cowboy hats.
How do you remember these things you read on the wall? I mean, I have no memory of anything I've ever read in a bathroom.
Well, maybe the quality's just not been there in the female bathroom.
Maybe.
I have to imagine that, has anyone studied this? The level of graffiti in male bathrooms has to be way higher than in female bathrooms, don't you think?
Yeah, that's probably,
Yeah.
I
We're
would
safe to guess that, right?
Okay, Estonian wife carry. Wife carrying is a contest in which male competitors race while each carrying a female teammate. The objective is for the male to carry the female through a special obstacle track in the fastest time. The sport was first introduced in Finland. Several types of carry may be practiced. Piggyback, fireman's carry, that's over the shoulder, or Estonian style, the wife hangs upside down with her legs around the husband's shoulders, holding onto his waist. That's what you guys did. The wife carrying world championships have been held annually in Finland since 1992, where the prize is the wife's weight in beer. You know, the wife carrying world championships, sometimes we talk about this, just the way humans have decided to fill the time.
The monkeys.
The monkeys, the way the monkeys have decided to fill the time. The aliens are looking at us.
They're always watching us.
And they see the wife carrying world championships happening.
The aliens must love it.
They
Like, look at the monkeys.
What a show.
The male monkey carries the female monkey over his back, and everyone cheers, and they're rewarded with these little cylindrical aluminum cans. And they handed it to this person.
Yeah. And they're drinking it, and they're acting a little crazy.
And now they're re-carrying the female monkeys again.
But this time for no prize.
Oh, some of the monkeys are fighting each other.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all.
Oh, okay. I'm glad we went out on the Estonian method.
Yeah.
You haven't seen that episode, have you?
No.
Yeah.
I've seen a little clip of that, though.
Oh, okay.
I guess I don't really fully understand why her face is in your butt, because if her legs are drooped
I'm
on
gonna
you-
pick you up in the Estonian method right now.
Okay.
Rob, do you have your camera? Okay, we're back from our experiment, and you concluded that your face is in my butt.
It is definitely in the butt.
Although you're so short, was it above my butt, or were you in my crack?
I was still in there.
You were in
Felt like I was pretty much in there.
I'm in there, Doug. I'm in there, Doug. I'm in there, Doug. I'm in there, Doug.
Cool.
Well, cool. Oh, maybe the next live show will run out on stage in the Estonian method. Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe someone will reward us with your weight in beer.
Oh, yeah.
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 Just one can of beer. A 40 of beer. All right. I love you.
Love you.